Staying busy.
Good.
Running around like crazy with this.
Yeah. So first thing I got all the 1149s for the platoon on the hard copy. None of them are signed. I talked to the ordnance rep now that's in charge. He said he burned them all.
Okay.
Which are supposed to be kept for at least 3 years, but he burned them.
Okay, so who was that?
Ivan Villanueva.
He's the one who burned them?
I don't know if he burned them, but basically I texted him like, hey, you still got these papers? And he said, no, they're all gone. I burned them. So I have electronic copies. These are unsigned though.
Okay.
So this was Eddie's rifle. The thing was, it was issued to Joe Arrington.
Okay.
I just talked to him. He confirmed that this is the rifle Eddie used the entire time because Joe and I were on alternate rotations, and he would use my gun when he was on.
Arrington would?
Arrington, yeah. So Eddie had this gun that was signed out to Arrington. And then these other two are just Eddie's other weapons. One was his regular M4, and then this is like a designated marksmanship rifle. M4 is what they were calling it.
Okay.
DMR. Yeah.
Cool. Easy enough.
And then I went looking for the papers just to double check, and I couldn't find them in the highway where we usually kept them.
Is that weird to you? What do you think of that?
It's either Ivan just being a dummy.
Okay, so let's just real quick. Let's talk about Ivan.
Yeah.
What's his relationship like with Eddie?
I mean, when we got back from deployment, he was not a fan. Like, he was over Eddie. Ivan's young, and Eddie used him a lot, like, to draw fire and stuff. Put him in some bad situations, and Ivan was over it. He was like, hey, when we were still operating, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go take a break back at the house because I need to do some school. So he was over it. The thing is like, he's kind of got that gangster mentality from growing up where it's like, yeah, I'm not going to rat anyone out.
Yeah.
So I hope he was just being a dummy and burned it all while they were cleaning the highway.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, sounds good. Just
Yeah.
curious. Just wanted a little bit of insight. What you thought.
Yeah.
Alright, what else you got for me?
Yeah. So I took some notes. I got the GPS coordinates of the houses where
like the towers?
Yep, the towers that we would, where I think he shot the girl from. I got a 10-digit grid if you need it.
Yeah, 1 second. Go for it.
Yeah, 38 Sierra, Lima Fox. 32399.
Oops.
25035. Yeah, the girl.
What was the last part of that?
Sorry. 25035.
Cool.
And then the girl's position, if you want, do you want that?
Yeah.
Alright. It's like right under this bridge.
Is this your work phone?
It wasn't like a deployment ATAC phone. I don't use it anymore.
You guys use it when you guys were like out on ops?
Oh yeah, every day. You don't go anywhere without these things.
Everyone have one?
Most guys have one.
You take pictures with those things?
Yeah, I got a couple pictures on here.
Let's take a look at those in a bit.
Cool. Alright, so where the girl was underneath this bridge.
Okay.
Approximate is 38 Sierra, Lima Fox.
Yep.
31898. 24681.
Cool.
I can give you where Doy was blown up. I forgot to get his last name. Let's see.
What's Arrington's relationship with Eddie?
Terrible.
Okay.
Arrington, Eddie, like, hated him. They did Arrington's first workup deployment. They were in the same platoon.
Okay.
Arrington's second workup, he came to our platoon and just avoided Eddie at all costs. And
Okay.
Eddie was his chief, and Harrington's the guy that Eddie tried to fire at the end when this kind of all blew up.
That's right. Do you know where Harrington's at right now?
Yeah, he's at the fire shop. JTAC.
Oh yeah, that's right. So those guys get back on Friday, right?
No, so Harrington's taking trips. I'm not sure where he's at right now. He just got back from one, so I'm guessing he'll be back for a little. But it's like, do you know where Group 1 is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's if you're looking at Group 1's quarterdeck, it's the building on the left.
Oh, okay.
It's like, looks like a single white trailer.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. You have a cell phone number?
Yeah, I do.
Let's just get that, just because.
Alright, it is...
I appreciate you not saying anything to him. Just let me talk to him.
Yep. 770
Mm-hmm.
714 2084. Let me try to put up my old routes. Let's see. Alright, looks like I deleted some of this stuff as far as routes go. Probably when we moved. So, and it was in a report. There was a SIPA report that went out after these incidences. So, with accurate GPS grids.
Which instance?
Sorry, the Doi, where Doi
Okay.
got hit, and when our sister platoon that we were working with out there, when they got hit with a rocket propelled projectile, they called it,
Mm-hmm.
there was a report went out for
Okay.
that as well.
What do you guys get on those? I mean, you guys don't get any SIPA reports on those, obviously, but you guys.
This?
Yeah.
So it's called ATAC, and it's a way for blue force tracking and green force tracking. As long as you have this and you're connected to the network,
Mm-hmm.
Your position, GPS position, will ping off of a cell phone tower that's over there.
So basically, the jock can see where you're at all times, or
Yep.
whoever.
Yeah, and I can see them. Or yeah, we can see, everyone can see each other, plus there's a chat room linked up. So you can be talking to all types of people on this thing. Thing is like I just had ATAC. I wasn't connected to the network.
Okay.
So all I used it for was navigation.
Okay. So what would you actually call these things? If I were to go try and figure out all the records for those.
A note. I think they had note 4s.
Okay.
This is a note 2. Note 4s and maybe note 6 and the ATAC. ATAC APAS device. So
Is it like ATAC?
ATAK, I believe.
Or ATAC or APAS?
Yeah, APASS. Arrington will know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. Was he the one who maintained the system, or?
Yeah, he was the comms guy in charge of it.
Okay. Cool. That actually.
You do want the approximate location?
Sure.
Alright.
I mean, those are basically, they're just modified cell phones, really.
I bought this cell phone off the internet.
Okay.
Yeah, it was used.
Oh, so
$100.
So it's.
And you just put an app on top of it.
So that's all it is. It's an app you're using.
Yep.
You guys had to buy your own phones for those?
I bought mine, my first platoon, because they didn't have enough. Second platoon, they would have had enough for me, but
Okay.
I already had mine. So.
Would Eddie have had one of these the whole time?
Eddie had one. Yep, entire time. All leadership had one.
I mean, could it have been an iPhone? It could have been.
No, he was using actually, so we got country phones too. So if guys needed it and they didn't have an issued one, they used Spot a Country phone
Mm-hmm.
and put ATAC on it and did that as well. So that's something to ask Harrington about. He would know.
Okay. Cool.
Alright, I'm just gonna give you this area. Somewhere in the vicinity of 38 Sierra Lima Fox 30588 22918.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to see what pictures you got on it?
Yeah, right here.
Sorry.
So starting from the beginning of deployment is here, and then you can just pull it down.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you see something in one of the there are locations where some of that serious stuff happened,
Okay.
especially where that guy was stabbed. You know.
Yeah, I never went. I don't believe I ever went to that location.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
So this is towards the middle of deployment.
Okay.
So
This is you keeping track of like what you guys are expending, basically. Is that
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
That's
Those
why
are
you have
serial
pictures.
numbers.
Yeah, I get it.
This is the hide site that I was in. So that's the hide site that Eddie was in when he shot that girl. This is me looking north.
All right. So if I want to just open up this picture.
Good question. What is it doing? There we go. So and then that's the bridge that I guess he pulled the MATV up on and like shot in the city.
Okay.
That loophole. No, that's not where EOD guy got shot. Never mind.
Cool. Do you have any way to send me these two pictures?
I think we could airdrop it or something maybe.
Yeah.
Because I don't have any service on this thing.
I mean, you can try it later if you want. You don't have to do it.
Or
this summer.
Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Bluetooth, right?
Let's see. I don't know if it's gonna work to an iPhone, but we can try it. Do you hook it up to? Can you hook it up to like your Wi-Fi at home or anything like that?
Yeah, Yeah, it'll hook up to Wi-Fi. I think I might have WhatsApp on here or something.
You want to try?
Yeah,
that?
I got WhatsApp. Yeah, I could
Just
probably.
do that whenever.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
And you just want those 2 pictures? Let me make
Yeah.
sure there's nothing I missed.
Yeah, that should be good.
I took some more notes.
Do me a favor.
Yeah.
Keep that. Don't delete anything off it.
Yeah.
Anything like that. Don't modify it in any way.
Yeah.
Just keep it as consistent as we can. Anyone seen Eddie in the last couple days?
I mean, I live right down the street. I see his truck come and go.
Okay.
That's it.
What kind of truck is he driving?
Like a probably 2003 Ford Ranger.
What
It's
color?
tannish pewter color,
Okay.
like a light brown, single cab. Has a sticker on the back that said Hillary killed my friends.
He has a couple kids, right?
Yeah, he's got one child that's his, like, biological, and then 2 stepchildren.
Okay. Are they all 3 living at the house with him?
I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure they only spend summers away. The stepkids only spend summers away.
And obviously his wife too.
His wife lives there, yeah. On that, he's told other guys, I'm pretty sure it's Craig, like, oh, yeah, I got the 2 stepkids, but they're not blood, they're not really mine. You know, he's told me, like, oh yeah, he was 14 or 15 at the time, the stepkid. He's like, oh yeah, my 14-year-old, he's cool, man. He just, like, minds his own business and stays in his room. I don't, like, have to talk to him or anything. And allegedly, he came home from deployment because his middle child, daughter, was gonna run away, and, like, she's also babysat for friends, and, like, she was, like, trying to go home at night. She's like, hey, my mom's not answering. Can you just, like, wait here, you know, wait for me to go into my house, type deal.
Who was that she's babysitting for?
Our friend Blakely Hughes.
Is he a SEAL?
Yeah. Her husband is Justin Hughes.
Blakely? Okay.
Yeah, Blakely Hughes.
She's civilian.
Civilian, yeah. Justin Hughes is a SEAL.
So this is Eddie's stepdaughter, right?
Yeah. And so when we were coming back from deployment, he got on the first flight back. He was already trying to get on the first flight back just to get out of there, whatever. Even though he had turnover to do, the incoming TAC lead. And then he made up this story, whether it's true or not, or it's just convenient that she was running away, so he needed to get on the first flight back. It was a family emergency. But, like, he was doing so much shady stuff before that, trying to leave early. Like, it was just...
No one believes anything he said.
Yeah, exactly. No one did.
Okay.
Yeah, I got some notes here.
Okay.
So, I don't know if I was clear enough in the original interview about the pictures. There was a picture, I'm like 99% sure that it was the prisoner that he killed.
Yeah.
The prisoner was still alive. And I was just thinking about this on the ride home, and it was a guy, a male, probably like 17 to 21 years old.
Okay.
Long black hair, dressed in all black, like man jammies, and he was being held up by the partner force. I don't remember if it was on a computer or Eddie's phone, but I know Eddie was there when I saw it because he was like, oh yeah, that's when he said, he was bragging about, oh yeah, I stabbed him.
Okay.
Whether it's the neck or the side or whatever, I don't remember. But I just wanted to be clear.
Where were you at when you saw that picture?
I was in our like little jock sipper room in British Heights.
Okay. Do you believe it was on his phone?
It was on. It was either the phone or the computer. But I know he was right there. That's why I think.
If it was the computer, whose computer would have been?
It would have been that shared computer TC has.
Okay. Anyone had these pictures other than TC's computer?
Not to my knowledge, I don't know.
Okay.
Again, like I wasn't involved with pictures. I wasn't a big
Yeah,
picture
I
guy.
gotcha.
There were guys that were big on pictures.
Yep. Cool.
The biggest thing I have is a platoon video, which I haven't found my thumb drive yet.
Okay, cool. I mean,
And you still, I can get that if you want.
Yeah.
Somewhere in my house.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I mean, whenever you find it, just give it to me.
Alright.
Alright, what else you got?
Yeah. Alright, so after we came back, he was also screwing with our evals, just kind of like more atmospheric stuff. Like with Craig's eval, he didn't put that he was the LPO, which he needs to make chief. He just put like he was a supply guy when Craig was not in charge of supply. And then I know...
Do you know if Craig confronted him about that?
Craig confronted Master Chief Heineman. Eddie was already gone.
Oh, okay.
He was at Traded by this point. And then we talked to Jake Portier about ROIC.
Okay.
And I know Craig talked to Heineman about it. And Heineman I think he altered it somehow.
Okay.
And then he was going around saying we're a bunch of pussies. He was telling, you know, Corey Pullman's chief that he was a pussy, didn't want to go out, and a couple other guys.
Okay.
So there's that. He told one of our medics, and I just found out this through a medic in another platoon, that he said it's not a real deployment unless a SEAL dies. I don't know if I said that in the last time.
Who? Okay, 1 second.
So I think he said that to TC.
To TC?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So Eddie's been involved in previous investigations. The first one that I know of is Afghanistan, where they're tasked with trying to take out. He was attached to Army. He was trying, or like the Brits. I think it was the Brits.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to take out like some guys that were going inside the green zone. I don't know where, and shooting up. And then he said he watched them for 3 days, and they would like exit a mosque, and there'd be little kids there, and pick up the kid and then walk across the street or whatever. So he shot the guy. Well, he shot the girl and ended up hitting the guy. Shot the little girl. The kid. Yeah. And he was like bragging about it. Sometimes, depending on what company he's in, he'd brag about it, and then like Craig, I guess, was like, his reasoning was like, you got to crack a couple eggs to make an omelet. And then I remember he told Craig that story, and Craig was just like, you know, what's wrong with you? And he's like, well, you know, I think about my kids every day. You know, it's not like, you know, it was an accident, blah blah blah. But I'm almost positive Rob Bryce was in charge of him at that point, and there's an investigation, and it blew over. Then Eddie was working for Rob Bryce in first phase, and he slapped a student. He admitted to me that he slapped a student, like, you know, during our workup.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh yeah, I slapped the kid, and I just told him I didn't, blah blah blah. And yeah, nothing happened. He got away with it. And Rob Bryce was in charge of him then, and then now this is going down, and Rob gave him that professional courtesy, he called it.
Yeah.
So then, during workup, Eddie had wanted to go to, it was like our mobility block,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a baby right then, so I wasn't going to that mobility block anyways, but Eddie's best friend, Steve Sneed, was getting married,
Mm-hmm.
and he was in Mexico. He didn't want to do the NKOs or put in the shit to go to Mexico or whatever, so he just went. And, like, nothing happened until there was a command climate survey, like, right before deployment, and I don't know who. Eddie was doing a witch hunt to find out who it was, but someone from, like, another platoon basically blew the whistle and was like, Eddie gets away with everything, you know, he lies, he went to Mexico, nothing happened. Those surveys go to the CO and the CMC, and I guess there's like trust issues after that between the CO and the CMC. I heard that through
With
another
Eddie?
chief. No. Well, yeah, it was
Like
the
with
CMC
the
was
CO and
pissed.
CMC with each other?
Yeah, with each
Okay.
other, because, you know, I'm sure the CMC was pissed at Eddie because he put him in that position.
Yeah.
They were friends, Heinonen and Eddie
Yeah.
were friends. But then there's trust issues with the CO and the CMC after that, and that's
Gotcha.
like kind of rumor mill stuff. But
Did Eddie ever get in trouble for that?
no,
Do you know if he ever
Not-
got even interviewed or asked about that?
if it was, it would have been with Master Chief Heinen, and it would have been, chief and above interview.
Okay.
And that's the same Master Chief who, when Craig went to talk to him, he's like, yeah, I know everything. And then, apparently he told Eddie he was fucked up, that Eddie was fucked up, it's not his boys. That was like the end of that. And then when our OIC went to talk to him with Bryce like 2 weeks ago with the JAG and the CO, he's like, what? Why didn't anyone tell me about this?
Gotcha.
Just more atmospherics.
No, I get it.
Some more atmospherics. Eddie was like, he told me that another time, he's like, yeah, I told my wife, I told Andrea, his wife's name is Andrea, if she ever cheated on me, I'd get her like a fish. And I was just like, okay, this is like after I just went to Bible study with him like a couple weeks before that. I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, she knows. Cool. She didn't seem like the type of lady that cheated on you anyways. It's kind of a weird thing to tell people. And he was a Marine first. I believe it was his first deployment. He went to Mosul for first combat deployment, and they called it the Mosul Massacre. And he didn't go into details about it or anything, but he'd always just be like, yeah, this was my first deployment. This is the Mosul Massacre. And now he's back as an E7, with the SEAL platoon. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, that's easy to pull those records and everything, so.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I don't know, you got any questions for me?
No, man, dude, it's honestly, it's a lot of stuff surrounding this case. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's, some of these things I know about, some of these things, I mean, I'll follow up on everything I can. Are you guys, like, I need you to kind of just be honest with me, and I don't care either way. Are you guys kind of talking amongst yourselves about this?
No, like...
A little bit, here and there? I mean,
no.
You said you've talked to a few people, like, asking for these records and
yeah,
stuff like
I'll do that.
But, like, I mean, other things too, I mean...
No, so with Ivan, he asked me, what do you need it for? I was like, you can basically guess what I need it for. I was like, you should be getting a call soon from someone. And he's like, he said, I have a text message if you want to read it.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Alright. It's about the 1149s. And then I just texted Ernest on the way over about the guns.
Cool.
Yeah, and then I see Craig at work, and he's the one that told me, it's like, heads up,
Yeah, I gotcha.
about Bryce and that. And yeah, so my two biggest concerns right now is Bryce is part of my head shit. He's my opso. And like I see him all the time, and it's making me mad that he did that, because he's kind of putting my family at risk, because Eddie lives right down the street from me, and my wife's the one that pointed out that Eddie was walking around our house.
Absolutely. Okay. Look, I know, like I said it last time, and I'm gonna say it again, like, you guys need, as much as possible, just like kind of keep this little communication, when you gotta ask questions in order to get stuff like that, I understand it. And again, like, you can probably guess what this is about, you'll be getting a call, that's fine, I'm trying to make sure you guys are talking details in case.
Yeah.
Everybody is gonna get interviewed in time, like, there's just a lot of freaking pieces in this case to try and track down, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any way, like, we live in military housing, is there any way, like, we can get some kind of phone call or something to, like, the housing to get us to move to another community?
I don't know. I'll see. I'll see what the possibility.
Don't take too much time on it.
No, I get it. Like,
I don't care.
and I'll give you guys a heads up when certain things are going to happen.
Okay.
Not that I have any reason to think people need to be afraid. Do you know? Okay, so let's talk about something real quick. If you were to call 911 because something was happening, who would respond? San Diego police?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Just curious. It's technically base housing, but it's technically San Diego jurisdiction, so I'm trying to figure out.
That's a good question. I think my wife called 911 when my baby boy was sick and he was throwing up when I was gone, and I can ask her for sure.
No, don't worry.
Okay.
It's all right because there's times even things that fall under technically base jurisdiction for a situation like that, anybody's going to respond. Whoever's closest is going to respond.
Yeah, we've had a neighbor get pulled out by gunpoint with San Diego PD.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, ask me anything, seriously, because...
let's see. How many doors down do you live for him? So like 6 doors down, something like that?
Between 8 and 10, I think.
Okay. So same side of the street?
No, we have one street dividing us.
Okay.
So he lives right on the corner of the street.
Gotcha. Trying to think what else.
He's always working out in his garage, like in the afternoons,
Okay.
usually. He walks his dogs in the evenings, afternoons.
Do you know where his cage is right now? It's still at SEAL Team 7?
No, he had one at Trade at, and
Okay.
he was right next to my buddies. He would know, but that's the thing is, if he knows about this investigation now, he's not a dumb guy. You know?
Yeah, I know.
He's a psycho, but he's not stupid.
I know. Gotcha. Trying to think of what else. Yeah, man, that's it. There's going to be follow-up stuff in the future. It's just we got to put all the kind of pieces together before we can even try and start doing that analysis of what else we need from you. Let me know when you guys see anything, hear anything, rumors, whatever. Just shoot me a text message.
Okay. And I told you about him going to Bud's compound, most likely to talk to Bryce.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll address that.
Which really pisses me off because I told Bryce, and so did Craig, we were right there together. We're like, hey, we're worried about him coming after us, like, or after our families. He's like, him and Master Chief Alzao were like, really? Come on. You really think he's going to do that? We're like, he's killed women and children before. Why would he not do it now? You know, he's a little rat. As they were like telling us that he's a rat and he's going to get cornered and it's going to get ugly. We're like, yeah, we know. So, like, do something.
Okay. So here's a question, actually. Something I'm talking about. I need this to stay just completely between us.
Yeah.
This is something you can't mention to anybody. Okay.
Okay.
We go with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Something that's an investigative step we do is make phone calls to people that we're recording. Who do you think Eddie could trust from deployment?
From deployment?
Yeah.
Jake Portier.
Okay. Are there any other enlisted guys? Or is he basically doesn't trust anybody? Somebody called him like, dude, NCIS call me, what am I supposed to tell him? Like, what happened with this shit?
Maybe Ivan? I really hope not.
Well, I mean, Eddie trusting him isn't necessarily a bad thing. That doesn't say anything bad about Ivan. I mean, just because Jake...
He might trust TC.
Okay.
Yeah, he might trust TC.
Okay. TC Byrne?
TC Byrne. They did a previous deployment together. Eddie liked him, so he pulled him to our platoon.
Okay.
As far as I know, they left on pretty good terms. Okay. Well, TC didn't like him, but Eddie does not.
Okay, fair enough.
Because
any other ideas?
TC, it would be TC or Jake. TC also saw Eddie in the parking lot, and Eddie was talking to him like, oh yeah, I'm getting out, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
No, everyone else, he knows. Like, we're done.
Gotcha.
TC or Jake for sure.
Good enough. that's it right now, man.
Okay.
I know there's a lot going on. Just be smart, stay safe.
Cool.
Are you guys pretty busy right now, or are you guys just kind of sitting around a lot?
This week is like our busy diving week, but then the next 2 weeks are next 3 weeks are really chill.
Are you guys like in the pool, or are you guys out like actually doing real dives?
We're doing real dives, and then we have like a 3 week break, and we'll start diving in the pool again.
Where do you guys go? Just curious. Like,
Oh no, I do second phase at Bud's. I'm an instructor.
Oh yeah, that's right. Never mind.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. So I mean, like, where do you guys take them when you do like the real dives? I mean, are you taking them off like into the bay, or where?
Yeah, so they'll start in the bay next to SQT doing like pace lines and accuracy dives.
Yeah.
We'll move over to Fiddler's Cove and we'll do like more accuracy stuff, and then for the final training exercises, it's still over by SQT, but you're diving under ships and stuff. So
Gotcha.
it's just in the bay, and we take them for a wreck dive after they do pool comp out off Point Loma.
So phase 1 is obviously like the absolute worst part about it, physically and everything.
So it's definitely like physically really bad, but once you get to second phase, you're still getting beat and doing physical evolutions, and then you're still broken from first phase.
Yeah.
Plus you have all these mental performance start to happen.
How long is phase 2?
It's another, what is it, 8 weeks?
8 weeks total?
Yeah.
So how long is phase 1?
8 weeks.
Jesus Christ. And then there's there's 3 total?
Phase, yeah, third phase, same thing, 8 weeks.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. I always see those poor souls running around. I mean, you've been through it and you see them all the time.
Oh, coming back through it, I'm so impressed with these kids.
Oh yeah.
It's awesome. It's motivating.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, you guys are all physical machines. I mean, the mental toughness, the physical toughness just amazes me, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, let me know.
Yeah.
Anything else.
Hey, if you need this, you can have it.
Sure. Yeah, let me keep it.
Yeah, it's on still.
Is there a passcode on it?
Nope. And ATAG, so I'll show you where ATAG is.
Cool.
You just swipe. I got a bunch of baby pictures on there.
That one.
Let's see. What am I looking for? Apps. ATAC right there. Go launch it, and then usually it'll say like something.
So there it would pull up where everybody is around.
Yep. And it'll show you your position. It'll show you your position if you zoom out enough and get imagery. But what was I gonna say? It'll ask for like a password and passcode. Once you pull BATAC, just click cancel, and it'll go to that.
Cool.
And the only stuff I deleted was routes that were old towards the end of deployment, because it'll slow it down if you have too many routes and points.
But you deleted those while you were there?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not like you deleted them before you came in?
No.
We need.
Cool.
Very good?
Yeah. You have your cat card on you by any chance? Thanks. Like I said, I'm just going to start with some bio information. We'll start with that. So I don't want to. What I want you to do is I want you to just kind of tell me why you think you're here, and then we'll talk about some incidents. I don't want to start asking you questions, but I want it to come directly from you. So, I mean, what do you think this is about?
Yeah, it's about my Chief Eddie Gallagher,
Okay.
and the biggest thing is when he. I could tell you hours worth of instances on where he like screwed us over and stuff. But his criminal stuff was he stabbed a prisoner. I believe I wasn't there that day. I heard about it, and then there's other instances where he'd come back to the truck and be like, "Yo, I shot 5 chicks today." There's other instances where I saw a 14, 15-year-old girl get shot in the stomach, and I thought it was ISIS. Shot her. Turns out he told another guy that he shot a girl in a gray dress, and that's the girl I saw get shot.
Okay.
I believe he said I shot the girl in the gray dress. So as I talked to the guy he talked to, Joe Arrington, he's like, "Oh yeah, that was Eddie who shot him. He told me he shot that girl." I don't remember if he specifically said what the girl was wearing, but I remember thinking that day like he shot that girl, and I just saw him shoot a little girl.
Okay. So let's start with these one at a time.
Yeah.
The first one you brought up was stabbing a prisoner. You said you weren't there that day. Where were you? Do you remember?
Yeah, so we did week on, week off rotations for most of deployment.
Yep.
Split up by squads. And that was our rotation day, so I was back at the Mosel Dam House where we were based out of, and I'm almost positive that was the day that we were turning over.
Okay.
And so we would drive down at usually leave the house at 9, 10 in the morning, and take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours to get to the Ford house. And then we would wait for those guys to come back out, or come back from operating that day.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they came back and everyone was murmuring and everything. I was in charge of weapons, so I'm kind of cleaning weapons, making sure the trucks are good for my squad. And we're doing turnover and stuff, hey, what happened that week? What'd you guys see? Where'd you guys go? Where the routes took? Just normal stuff that we do for turnover. And then there's all this hush hush rumor. I'm like, what's going on? Why isn't anyone working and stuff? And it's like, Eddie stabbed a prisoner. I'm like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? And I was like, hey, what's this? What's the deal? What's the story? What the fuck's going on? And this was towards the end of deployment. There was a huge buildup before this. Partner force brought over a prisoner, and medics were treating the prisoner. He was messed up or something. I don't know if he was concussed or what. All I know is medics were treating him, and then he came up and stabbed him.
Do you remember who told you about it?
It was the whole group of E6s and guys that were out that day.
So it was a big group of people who were
at that point. It was the whole platoon was back in the house.
Okay. So
together.
Was Eddie there when it was discussed?
No, the guy was toxic. So we would have our little E6 meetings. We had 2 houses.
Mm-hmm.
A couple guys were in the house with him and the OIC and AOIC. And then every other E-Dog was in the other house. And so we always would do our meetings in this house and just freaking avoid him because he was so toxic at this point. No one even wanted to talk to him.
Was that the first incident? I mean, you mentioned all these different incidents. Was that, as far as you recall, the first one? Or is that just the major one?
That was the major one. I mean, I don't really know as far as criminal things, how it falls, but as far as using his own guys as bait, for us to draw fire, sending us out.
Mm-hmm.
To have, 50 cal get shot at us or a rocket, and when it misses, it was me specifically, he tried to get me to go back out there. I'm like, fuck, you're an idiot. And and then just his incompetency of, accidental discharge in the walls, not knowing where the enemy was and getting us either pinned down by gunfire or we got hit by RPG and our turret got his legs blown up. It was just a really toxic situation, and it was a build-up, and it was like everyone was frustrated because we didn't. We go back before this, even during workup, like this guy he's got like this legend following him, and like all our head shed is his buddies, like Master Chiefs, and everyone just eats how he's a legend. So we go into this platoon, and I loved him, like he's my mentor. I went to Bible study at his house. He lives like 8 houses down from me. I watched his dogs when he goes on vacation. We're great friends. We go on training trips, and other instructors are like afraid to tell him that he did stuff wrong, so they're not even debriefing like the platoon on what we did wrong. Like this is crazy. He'd do stuff and just like get away with anything he wanted. So then we're like, this stuff starts happening on deployment, and he starts screwing us over left and right, and just creating this huge divide in the platoon. And at first we hated each other. Like we couldn't figure out that was him that was doing this, and the platoon was just like turning on it. And then finally something clicked towards the end, and we're like, dude, it's him. Like he's a complete problem. And that's when everything started kind of coming out, where it was like, hey, on this day, dude, he told me to do this, and on this day he told me, this happened, and on this day we were going up here, and it was like he was just trying to get one of us killed. And so like our complete confidence in his leadership was not there. And then if we spoke out against him, he'd get bench guys. He'd be like, hey, you 6, they got like expelled back to the house to go sit watch for like 6 weeks,
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so it was kind of like, it got to the point where it was like, all right, you shut up and you go out and you deal with it, or you speak up and you get bench. And I know for me, and I bet a couple other guys, it was like, bad stuff was happening. We got an EOD guy who got shot in the leg. We got dirt blown up, his legs, the RPG. One of our JOs got shrapnel to the arm, and it exploded like 4 feet from another guy's head, a medic's head. And I was involved with both the scenarios, and
Want some water, man? It's unopened, I swear. Take your time. I know it's complicated, and like there's a lot of issues here.
yeah, so it was like, all right, cool. I can speak up, stand my ground. I'll get benched and sent back to the house, and he's just gonna do this to a new guy who he can manipulate. So I was like, I'm gonna be his right hand man. So yeah, so no one else got hurt. So, I worked for him and kept my mouth shut. I tell guys above me what had happened, and they're like, yeah, we're going to take care of it. Storm was brewing, and they were doing everything they could. So, Yeah, you want me to go into the reporting side, like how it's getting sent up the chain?
We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Okay.
I want to talk about the incidents first, and then we'll talk about.
Yeah. So he used me as bait a couple times.
Where was that?
So the first time was we're coming up from Hamamalo. We're still down in the south, and it was maybe a week before our trip got blown up, and him and another sniper went to the rooftop with our JO, and and our EOD guy, they're blowing loopholes just like normal to get a loophole to shoot out of, because we're snipers.
Yeah. You're a sniper too?
Yeah.
Okay.
And EOD guy puts a little too much explosives in one hole, and that was the hole facing majority of Mosul, where all the ISIS was, and I was down in the trucks when this was going on, so he glued 2 good loopholes. So Eddie and Chris Shoemake took those loopholes, and I was just holding security in the truck with basically the rest of the platoon, because it was a new area and we didn't have partner force really around us. We rolled around with 2 Humvees, 2 partner force in each Humvee most of the time, and the streets were bare. There's a couple civilians coming out and around, which is not normal, because up until then we didn't really see civilians. And so he's like, "Yo, Vriens," Eddie calls me up on the radio. He's like, "Hey, you want to come up and shoot out this loophole?" I'm like, "Yeah, hell yeah, of course." He's like, "All right, cool, put on your backpack, bring up your I think it was my Mark 13, it was 300 Win Mag. I believe I had that one that day." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I think as my JO came down, showed me the way to get up, or it was Shu. Shu was like, "Hey, I'll show you how to get up there." We go up, there's like one stairway facing the enemy, completely exposed. He's like, "You gotta make a run for it." Like, we've done this shit a million times, so I go make a run for it, past that area, I'm good. And I look over and he's like, "Yo, you take that loophole," and it was basically like the whole wall was blown down like that. I think there might have been one cinder block that I could hide behind, so he's like, "Yeah, just make yourself at home over there." And I'm like, "What the are you kidding me?" The wall's like 3 feet high, and what it was supposed to be, that was the highest point, and it was just blown out. And he's like, "Yeah, you can set up right there." I'm like, "Alright, fuck me, okay." So I go start like being an idiot, running up, jumping down, setting a brick up one at a time, taking cover, and then as soon as I get my little loophole, that he called it, built up, the whole building gets sprayed with 8-up fire. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, are you kidding me right now? And so that was like the first time. Then he kept.
Yeah, real quick before we go to the next one, you think he was putting you up there just so he could try and draw out the fire, figure out what's coming, or what do you think his reason was for sending you out there?
If it was that incident alone, I wouldn't have thought anything of it.
Other
but
than maybe just some incompetence, but
yeah, just him trying to. He'd be like, "Yeah, I'm trying to hook you up and get you up there."
Yeah.
But like it was a series. Then he'd be like, well, "Let's back up." Before we even left for deployment, we're having a barbecue. He lives right down the street from me, right? Whole platoon on a barbecue. I show up late, and they're like packing up, so I help clean up. And he'd been drinking a little bit, and he just turns to me. He goes, "It's gonna be a good deployment." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm really excited. It's gonna be an awesome deployment." He's like, "Yeah, someone's gonna die." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Why does that make it a good deployment?" He's like, "We'll see." And I'm just like, whatever. Like, this is him just saying shit so that we get scared. He wants a reaction, and then he wants to call you a pussy to everyone else. Like, that's what he does. Okay. And I didn't think anything of it. And then the medics.
Did you interpret that as one of you guys is going to die, or is it like
100%? Because he also told somebody else in the platoon, like, "Hey, you know what the great thing about Colonel Christian is? Colonel Christians, I believe it was, who was 05 that was in charge of us, Vriens, Marshall. Heck, you know what the great thing about him is? He doesn't care if Americans die." I'm like, he told someone else that. And then he told a medic, like, "Hey, you better get your shit together because there's going to be a mass casualty situation. People are going to be dying and blowing up and bleeding." Something to that effect. And then I think he told our LPO, Craig Miller, "Hey, you better have your shit locked down because people are going to die for this deployment." you know. And then when he first got to his house, so he handpicked his little crew of like all the experienced guys to be at his house, and pretty much one platoon and below plus Chris Shoemake, who was a 3rd platoon. We went to the other house, and he's like, apparently he brought his squad in the first day he got there. It was like, hey, the other side of the platoon is dead to us. Don't talk to them. Don't debrief them. Don't tell them what we're doing because we don't want them to get on our ops. And then, 12 days later, we're all down at the Ford house that we're going to be operating out of, and his squad goes out. He was going out every day, by the way. His squad goes out, and on the way back, he'd be like, hey, don't fucking tell them what happened today. Well, when he was going doing his thing, we'd have our own debriefs, E6 and below. And when we would go out, he would just like, I don't know, he wouldn't say any of that to us. He wouldn't be like, hey, don't debrief the other platoon, or the other half of the platoon. So we're like, that's weird. And then he started talking about his best friend had gotten a Silver Star and a Purple Heart the deployment before. We were relieving him. And J.J. Finan, who was at EOD, died that deployment. So now we're on deployment, and he starts talking about, how it'd be cool to get a Purple Heart. Well, this was actually later in the deployment. But so first off, now we'll go back to that incident where I was using as bait the first one. A couple days later, we go up to the spot where our chirp got blown up, his legs blown up. We went there a couple times. The first time, nothing eventful happened. It was just a shitty spot, and he was running all over the roof like an idiot, and he thought that the enemy was, 800 to 1,000 away. It turns out they were less than 500, and we were like completely exposed on the rooftop. The most cover on the rooftop was like 3-4 feet. And I was just like, hey, I'm going to follow him. I know our medic TC was up there with me, and he's like, hey man, if Eddie gets shot, like, we can't just leave him out on the roof. Like, one of us has to be his buddy. I'm like, yeah man, I agree, but, he's kind of risking it to get the biscuits on him. It's got to the point where it was ridiculous. Like, there's a 8-story building looking right down on us at 500 meters away, and we're up on this rooftop with 3 feet cover, running around like assholes. So then he goes, from there he goes, we don't find like a good shooting position or anything, so he goes up 1 story above that with TC and Shoemake, and they get completely lit up by 8-up fire, pinned down. There's only one way down, which is a ladder. So I get my Mark 15, it's a 50 cal sniper rifle, and I'm like trying to scan where they're coming from, and I'm just like out in the open basically, like trying to, I guess, draw fire to me instead of them so they can get down. It's fucking retarded. And so we go back. He also had this thing where we didn't debrief our sister platoon, which was golf platoon. He didn't want us talking to them. Some of my best friends were in that platoon, like brothers to me, so I'd go and debrief them. Well, they go out to that same spot, and they got hit by what was deemed, they thought it was an IED originally, a rocket-propelled explosive. And it just popped their tire, thank God. Same exact spot. So they come back, and I think we got shut down for like 2 days. We can go out for like, for some reason, 2 or 3 days. It was weather holds or whatever. We go to that same spot, and we pull up. As soon as we pull up in the truck, I'm Vic 1 with Eddie in the back and our EOD guy up front. This time, partner force is completely inside this building, and it was like some kind of industrial building. And it was a grain or rice factory, because there's grain and rice bags everywhere, and it was a big open area where they pulled like 4 or 5 Humvees in the bottom. And they're all hiding inside. There's none of the trucks were on the street this time. And so Eddie gets out with our EOD guy, just like every time, goes and talks to partner force with our chirp, who was Doy. And his name is Doy. I had my door open, and he goes, hey, partner force said that they're getting shot at. Rounds their sniper come down here. And I was like, didn't think much of it because it's always happening, and this building's on a corner, so it's like almost like a four-way intersection. And so I'm parked here. We got kind of a truck on each corner, but only two of us are exposed to this sniper. You know, Iraqis always say there's a sniper. So I'm like, hey, are you gonna put that out? He just told me. You know, I was like, hey, and guys are like getting out, setting up mortar tubes, getting our UAV up. And he's like, yeah, the enemy's 750 meters that way. Say there's a sniper or whatever. I'm like, are you gonna put that out? That there's, you know, taking fire over here? And he just turned and walked away. My LPO was right there, and it was like SOP, stay off comms. I'm like, hey, shoot. Eddie says partner force is getting shot at over here. He's like, cool. He puts it out over comms. Next second, the vehicle, Vic 4, gets hit by like a 50 cal round, something big. And they like duck and they're like, oh shit, you know, we're getting hit. So I can't remember who put that over comms. Like, hey, Vic 4 just got hit by a round, blah blah blah. And guys are like still walking around. I don't know if they just didn't hear it. So we're like, hey, get the fuck off the street. Get buttoned up, whatever. But we left our truck right there. So we're like, all right, cool, everyone's good. Let's go set up the sniper hide. And as soon as we get up there, I can tell you my version. I know what happened underneath, basically. But we get up there. We're up there. We're about to get ready to blow a loophole to go shoot out of. And it sounds like a loophole charge goes off. I'm like, what was that? And everyone just kind of looks around. There's nothing on the radio. I'm like, hey, what was that? Nothing. So I was like, hey, Eddie, Mullen, Christian, Mullen, hey, I'm gonna take Mullen down to the first floor and we're gonna go find out what happened. It's like, okay, we go down the first floor and so I'll tell you from my perspective first and what actually happened. So I got down there, my Vic, front door was open, back door was open, and it got hit by RPG or SPG-9. Basically same warhead, SPG-9 can go further, and it's more accurate. And all I saw was like some smoke, some dust, doors jacked up. My OIC is getting in the door. He says, getting into his Vic. He's like, hey, tell partner force to get their guy out from under the mat V. And I look under the mat V, and there's a partner force under there. And he shuts the door. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? And I hear like, hey, got hit with a rocket. And there's none of the platoon is now by this Vic, and I'm kind of like inside the doorway of the factory, and Christian Mullen is behind me. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I just see this partner force guy there. I'm like trying to look and go back and forth. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna grab this guy. So I try once to grab him. His kit rips off because he had a fake kit, piece of shit. And then I grab him. I pull him in. At that point, Eddie's behind me. He like helped pull him for like 1 foot after I got inside the building. Put my tourniquet on him because he had double femoral bleed, like his legs were held on by flesh. Like that was fucking done. I put my tourniquet on him. Eddie puts his tourniquet on him. We call it in. Turns out what happened was TC Burn was in the back seat of my vehicle, was scanning for enemy. Thought he saw something on a rooftop, but there's so many partner forces, so convoluted. They told Doy, our chirp, hey, get a partner force over here. Tell me if this is one of those guys. And the partner force guy was like, yeah, right. He was like, no, I don't want to. It was Fedpole, by the way. He's like, no, I don't want to. And Doy was like, hey, get the fuck over here. So the guy opens my driver door, because we're always supposed to keep the door shut. But thank God he opens the driver's side door. He's standing on the rail. Doy is behind him, and then TC's in the middle seat in the back.
And what was it? He's like, hey, I see this guy on the rooftop. It's, what was it like? It ended up being 350 or 500 meters away. Not 750 that we were told. And blast hits the bottom half inch of the door, sprays that blast cone all underneath, immediately wipes out the Fed pole guy's legs and our terp right behind him, but the Fed pole guy took the majority of the blast, and he was like, apparently he's like the biggest Fed pole guy Iraqi anyone's ever seen. And he unfortunately took all the blast, and that helped save Doy's life and TC's life. So Doy and Fed pole were blown under the mat V. TC didn't know what was going on. All he saw was an explosion and a big cloud of dust, so he thought it was some kind of mustard gas mortar. He gets out of the truck, runs around, goes over to Mike Stoner, is like, what the fuck? And Stoner's like, get the fuck in the truck, we just got hit by a rocket, or you just got hit by a rocket. And he's like, oh no, I gotta go get Doy. TC runs over, grabs Doy, pulls him behind cover. Doy's got a double femoral bleed. TC applies 2 tourniquets, freaking medevac out. JTAC has PZ posture before helos even get there, just freaking, they crushed it. Anyways, so we finish, we put the tourniquets on that Iraqi, and that was the last I saw of him. We dragged him onto a blanket, and they rushed him off. I don't know if he ever made it to Nambu. I doubt he lived, honestly, because I looked into his eyes, and he was pretty much gone. We got back, and come to find out, what was so toxic about this whole thing, it was so frustrating, because I don't blame my O's, because they're so manipulated for what happened on deployment. I just wish my OIC would do more now, but Eddie had himself and McNeil and Portier in the same room as him, so the master manipulator, Eddie Gallagher, would just feed them what happened every day, because our O's were busy. They were doing all kinds of reporting and going to meetings till late at night with Iraqi generals and their own head shed with our colonels, and so they were just kind of like, hey, Eddie, what happened, blah, blah, blah. You know, and he would just feed them whatever he fed them. I couldn't tell you, but didn't seem like it was the truth. So come find out later in that deployment, Eddie's putting himself in for the Silver Star for dragging the Iraqi out of that scenario.
That's what he's putting himself in for Silver Star for?
Oh, well, one of the stories. He had like 4 different stories. He probably had 10 different Purple Heart fake stories as well.
Well, I mean, I'd heard that he put himself in for a Silver Star. I just hadn't heard what the story was for.
So the awards policy kept changing, and it was like one single heroic event, and then it was like could be for multiple events. So the one that I saw was like a type up of like all these fake stories, and it was either fake stories or stuff that other guys had done, and he was claiming that he did it. And you know, I know my O's are probably ultimately responsible, but they were so lied to and manipulated the whole time that when we told them like that didn't happen, at first they didn't believe it because they had the trust that had been built up over 2 years of a workup cycle. And then they were like, it finally came to light, like, yeah, I think there was a video of that specific day, and then of when the EOD guy got shot, and they're like, oh, that's not at all what we were told. And then that's when the wheels started coming off of that Eddie Gallagher trust train, yeah. And unfortunately, it was just like really late in the deployment at that point, because, like I said, like everyone felt between a rock and a hard place, and that if we spoke up, we would be castrated, because he had, you know, the whole command backing too, because we're jumping stories here.
I'm following so far, at least.
Later in the deployment, Joe Arrington Eddie got wind that Joe Harrington was talking bad about him, which is weird because we were all talking bad about him, and he just needed like someone to make an example of. He wanted to send Joe to another platoon on the other side of Iraq that wasn't doing anything and take their JTAC here. And so he told us, he had an E6 meeting, and he's like, hey, I'm sending Joe to Delta Platoon because he said he doesn't want to work for me, and JTAC down there, Roy Hankel, does want to work for me, because this was Eddie's old platoon. And he's talking shit, blah, blah, blah. He's running his mouth this whole time. I've talked to him about it before. I told Master Chief Heinonen about this. He's on board. I asked him for advice, blah, blah, blah. So this was like the last straw for all the E6s. He drove from our Ford house back to the Shaykhon house. There's Mosul Dam and Shaykhon house. He lived at the Shaykhon house, along with all the more experienced E6s. I'm a junior E6 with just 2 deployments. So this was my second. All the other guys with 3 deployments, they lived at the house. So he drives back to the house, and all the senior E6s are there. And basically, that's when it was like, finally, it was like the last straw, and everyone like stood up to him. He was like, hey, I'm firing Joe, I'm sending him out. Basically gonna ruin his reputation, his career, he's gonna screw him on evals, like we all knew it. And they were like, negative, we're not taking this. I don't know exactly what the conversation entailed, but basically the gist of it was like, we're not taking your bullshit anymore. We know you did this, this, and this. You know, basically that was all wrong. We're tired of it. You're not sending Joe away. You're the problem. And then Joe and Eddie had a conversation in a room. I don't know what happened to that. And all the E6s went up to Jake and Lieutenant McNeil. They're like, this is what's been going on this whole entire time. Like, you guys probably haven't been hearing this whole story. This is what's been going on. And Lieutenant McNeil was very receptive of it. He was like, check, you know, he was all about it. He's like, this is bullshit. I didn't know any of this, basically. Portier was like, you know, still wanted to love the abusive father, I guess. And it took him till the very end of deployment where he saw the videos, didn't match the stories and the award write-ups, and that kind of made the wheels fall off. And him and I had a really long conversation in Germany about, you know, what he's going to do with Eddie. So I was like, great. Like, hey, if we could go back in time, we'd do it different, but at least we're doing the right thing now. It's basically my saying back then. That's 100% my saying now. So I was like, all right, great. You know, our leadership's on board. We're gonna go back. This is all gonna be stopped. And we're gonna take Eddie out of the SEAL teams, because not only out of the SEAL teams, but away from everyone. Like, he's a psychopath. And whether it's prison or being a civilian or whatever, he needs treatment. But I was confident in them after that. You know, Jake, Lieutenant Portier, was like, yeah, you know, I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to let Headshed know, the team, you know, what's been going on, blah, blah, blah. And he regretted it. He was sorry. I mean, he apologized to me a million times. And he's like, I didn't know. I trusted him because it's 2 years. You know, yeah, the guy on paper is a rock star. Eddie Gallagher's on paper. Nothing sticks to him. Yeah, I don't know. What do you want to talk about? More instances?
Yeah, let's talk about the ones you saw, first of all.
Yeah.
You saw that, you said that little girl. How old do you think she was?
Yeah. Early teens, early mid-teens. There's 4 of them, actually. So one was in a gray dress with a colorful, it wasn't a burqa, it was just a hijab. So you could see her face. And
let's start. What part of, like, where were you guys at when this happened?
so this was, yeah, we were in eastern Mosul looking into western Mosul.
Okay.
And we had the the Tigris River between us,
Okay.
between us and ISIS.
Are you guys on the east or west side of the Tigris River?
We're on the east side.
Okay.
So eastern Mosul was already cleared. Our job was tasked with western Mosul, and this was towards the end of deployment. We were, if I had a map or I had my Note 2, I can point it out.
Okay.
We were there. There's 2 buildings by themselves, kind of blown out, and we went there so many times because the first time that we went there, basically what we were doing is just pushing behind partner force, and every time we pushed behind them, we couldn't see much or anything. We go over to this side, and we see guys with guns in ISIS gear all over the place, going down to the water to get drink, running guns, running RPGs, guys on motos. It was like a ISIS playground. Apparently is where they did their R&R, so they would go to the front lines and then come back to this riverside, retreat, and restock, rejock, and hang out for like a week. A lot of the foreign fighters as well were over there.
Okay.
And so we got over there and we were just like, this is great. Problem was there's only 2 buildings, and if there's any sniper fire coming from the east side of Mosul, where we were, you know where they're at. So we did eat quite a lot of rounds, whether it be 8-up fire, 7.62, 50 cal. There was one day I wasn't out, but anti-aircraft rounds. Some big rounds that hit inside the building too, probably 50 cal or 338 Lapua or some variation. Also, armor piercing incendiary. They had it all. Mortars, Katyusha rockets one day. What I think were Katyusha rockets. Anyways, yeah, it was great. It was really dangerous. We kept going there over and over, and they knew we were there. So it was basically fighting positions. We weren't sniper rides, and we did a lot of good work there. They realized that we were killing them down by the river to get supplies, so they couldn't get water anymore. So there was like, we got ICOM chatter of like, hey, we're running out of water, we need water, and they couldn't replenish it because we were holding down their water supply. So that's where this took place, and I think it was like my second time over there. There's a pathway under the bridge. They put up like big T-wall barriers, I think like a Jersey barrier, but 12 feet high. Put them up all over to like hide their access routes, and then it was also under a bridge so that aircraft couldn't see the ISIS fighters running around, and then they had a fuel tanker under there as well. Might have been 2 fuel tankers. There was a pathway there. The problem was there's a lot of civilians that use that same pathway, whether they're going to the front lines to escape or they're just carrying on their daily lives. Like, these people needed water and food too. You know, they're just stuck in a war zone. And so I'm just glassing. This was like a couple times in, so there weren't nearly as many targets by this point. You know, they started to figure it out, not to go down the water or expose themselves to us. And I see 4 girls, one in a dark blue dress, one in the light gray dress. Light gray dress had a hijab, so it was about 750, 800 meters. I could see fine with my sniper rifle. She had blue hijab with like maybe some kind of floral print on it. And as soon as I saw them, the 4 of them, they were like kind of like sneaking-ish. It was like towards the front lines, and they had their faces uncovered, and they were in light-colored dresses. And if you're a part of ISIS and ISIS-controlled territory, you're in the full burqa. You're only showing your eyes. So, plus these girls were young, and to me, that it's like they're gonna go try to escape, be refugees. And I'll tell you. So these girls, the girl in the gray was in front, the girl in the dark blue dress was in the back. 2 other girls were kind of like, 10 feet away, kind of at an angle. All of a sudden, I see the girl in the gray grab her stomach and drop to the ground, and the girl in the blue is looking directly at our position, and she's like, scared face, looking up and reaching down to her friend in the gray. Friend in the gray is holding her stomach, and the two other girls just took off and ran over a berm. So the girl in the blue is trying to pull the girl in the gray up, and they get her to her feet. And the girl in the gray is just holding her stomach and trying to run. And the girl in the blue is looking back at us, and the girl in the gray trips on the berm. And the girl in the blue just runs up, grabs her by like the shoulder arm, and pulls her down over the berm. And I was like, hey, Jake, I think I just saw ISIS shoot a little girl again, because we had seen it a lot. And it was happening all the time. And he's like, okay, yeah, like, I don't remember his exact words, but something like, yeah, we'll do the reporting, law of armed conflict reporting. And then we came back, and after that day, and E6 is all debriefed because we had snipers in both OPs. I was in the southern OP with Joe Arrington, who was the other sniper in my position, with Lieutenant Portier. The northern one was Chris Shoemake, Eddie, I think Michael Stoner, and I think it was that day. He was like, no, he didn't tell me that day that he had shot girls. It was another day. But he went, I told Joe Arrington, I'm like, man, dude, I saw, I think the topic came up that Eddie had shot a woman or something, shot a non-combatant, like another day as we were debriefing. And I was like, dude, I saw this girl in gray. That's what it was. The topic just got brought up. And I was like, hey, man, to Joe, I was like, dude, I saw this girl in gray, like, it's shot in the stomach, man. She was like 15 years old. And he's like, and she was wearing a gray dress and like a hijab, like her face wasn't covered. She's like clearly like not ISIS and running to the front line. It's like looking to escape, I think. And he's like, yeah, that was Eddie. He shot her. He told me he shot that girl.
Arrington is what he said?
Yeah,
Okay.
Joseph Arrington. And I don't remember how he knew or what Eddie said to be it was that girl, but he told me, he's like, yeah, it was that girl. And I was just like, what the fuck? And didn't follow up on the law of armed conflict reporting, that day. It was like rejock, reload, we're going off the next day. We're inserting at like 2, 3 in the morning. We get back at like 4 or 5 at night, have to clean guns, clean Vicks, rejock ammo for the next day. And it was just like another incident to the many. At this point there's so many.
I know there's a lot of judgments that go into whether or not you take a shot, and whether or not you think they're supporting ISIS, they're ISIS members, whatever it might be. Is there anything you saw that those girls were doing in your mind as a sniper, anything at all that they did that would justify taking a shot?
No. I mean,
there was not a single thing that you could articulate that.
The only thing would be if, like, that pathway was being used by other ISIS fighters, so I saw.
But it's being used by civilians too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep my opinions and my feelings out of it and just give you the facts.
But, I mean, your opinions matter because you have experience. You were there. I mean, so those things are actually relevant. And I appreciate the fact that you're not trying to just dissuade us one way or another. But that's why I ask your opinion, because we're also, some of the things that we're going to ask you are going to be anticipating what, once we eventually interrogate Eddie, what he's going to say and how he's going to justify this. And so if he's able to come in and say, oh no, I saw her and she was doing this and this and this, no, everybody else who saw this incident didn't see it.
Yeah.
So that's why I ask.
I'll tell you right now, I 100% would not have taken that shot. I don't know any Navy SEAL sniper that would have taken that shot.
Okay.
I'll tell you that right now.
Do you think, as a sniper, if in that instance, if it was a mistake or if it was an honest error on a sniper's part or another SEAL's part, is there a way that you could articulate what happened? in their defense. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know, I would say, if I had to defend that shot, hey, you know, there was a lot of ISIS fighters coming in and out. I saw an ISIS fighter peeking his head around, and then next thing, so I took the shot, and next thing I know, the little girls walked into it.
Is that, so, follow-up question, is that a realistic possibility?
No, because that specific instance, the girls were way far away from the T barrier. I mean, I'm talking like 20 feet. You had plenty of time to identify whether or not those girls were combatants.
Okay.
It was a super dynamic zone. Hey, you just...
So, even the best, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth,
Yeah.
but I want to see if you agree with this. Even the best defense that you could come up with, you still think is completely unrealistic for that shot?
Apparently there were some intel reports. I never saw the written reports that some women were supplying arms or supplies, bringing water and food to ISIS fighters.
Okay.
This girl's hands were empty. You can always be like, oh, I thought there was something in her hand. You can say a million things. I'm sure you will. Whatever, you know. But if we had that on video and someone else was looking at it, sniper or no sniper, you'd be like, what's wrong with you? Why'd you take that shot? It wasn't like it was imminent threat. We were 750 meters away, you know. These people didn't have weapons. They weren't pointing them at us. You had enough time to decide whether or not to take the shot.
So was it at any point one of those things where you had just a split second to decide whether or not to take the shot, and if you didn't take it, you were going to lose?
Yeah, all the time.
What about with that one? Was she going to be...
He was in a different building. I don't know what his angle looked like.
Okay.
The thing is there was two other instances where he came up to me because I drove him around on the way home, and he was like, "Yeah, I shot 5 chicks today," or "Hey, I shot 5 girls today." And for some reason, he always picked 5.
Bragging about that?
Yeah, bragging with like a smile on his face, and I'm just like, "The fuck's wrong with you?" And I know he said that to several other people. I know he said it to Craig, and Craig's just like, "Why the fuck would you do that?" And then he went off on some story like, "Oh, I shot warning shots and something. I don't even remember his excuse, you know." And that's the other thing. Like, you're 750 meters away. You're a sniper. You have the ability to fire warning shots at, you know, at most. You have a escalation of force you can use, and there was.
Did you ever see him shooting warning shots?
I personally never seen him shoot warning shots. No.
How about the other snipers? How many snipers were there in your platoon?
Joe Arrington, Dylan DeLay, Dalton Tolbert, myself, Eddie, Joe.
All those other guys, did you ever see them shoot warning shots?
No, but they told me they did.
Okay.
Yeah, I personally I'm not really into warning shots. I'll just let them go, basically. You know, if it doesn't warrant a kill, like I didn't want anything to do with it.
Okay.
The city was going to be cleared by Iraqi forces no matter what. No matter what I did, I was basically helping them.
Yeah.
It was going to get cleared. Didn't matter. So I didn't risk it, basically. There was times where it definitely helped. I know, because there were ISIS fighters shooting civilians, you know, or forcing kids and women to go down to the water and get them water. So you fire just, you know, a couple rounds into the street, and the streets are empty the rest of the day, you know. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about the warning shots. I personally didn't take warning shots because if they're civilians feel safe, fighters will eventually feel safe. So
yeah.
that was my tactic, and I just didn't want to risk it. I couldn't live with myself basically taking a bad shot that meant to be a warning shot and killing a civilian.
Okay.
That was
Fair
me.
enough. Did you ever talk to Eddie about that shooting that girl?
No, I didn't.
He bragged to other people that he shot a woman, you said?
So that specific time, he apparently told Arrington, yeah, that hey, I shot this girl, or I shot women, or something. And, you know, I don't know if he specifically said I shot the girl in gray dress or something, but Arrington, his response had me believing, hey, Eddie that's the girl that I saw Eddie shoot, you know, and because of the events, why else would the girl look directly at us, you know?
Yeah. I know I'm kind of going back a little bit, but
No,
did you ever hear Eddie make any statements about that original stabbing incident where he stabbed a prisoner?
He came back and he was like bragging about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you hear him say anything about it? Like,
he's like something like yeah, the medics were treating him, so I fucking took out my knife and stabbed him. I don't remember where.
Okay.
Don't remember chest or neck or whatever. For some reason, both chest and neck are ringing a bell.
okay. What kind of knife did Eddie carry?
In the beginning, it was Half-Face Blades knife. I don't know what kind, but it was made by Half-Face Blades.
Okay.
Former team guy owns a knife company, and their buddies was like gave him a deal on it or something.
So it's one of like Eddie's buddies that owns a company or whatever?
Yeah, and I remember Eddie telling us about it, like he's buying a couple knives, does anyone want one? Got a bunch of shirts, and then he thought he was getting them for free, and he had to pay for them, so he was pissed off. Had spent like $1,200 on these knives because they're expensive knives. But he also got a hatchet that he was carrying around. But at that point, he wasn't carrying around the hatchet. He was just carrying around his knife.
You said just the beginning of deployment, he stopped carrying that knife? Or you said that because he added the hatchet?
He added the hatchet.
So he carried that knife through the whole deployment?
I'm pretty sure he carried the knife through the whole deployment. I know he had at least 2 knives, but I think he only carried one on the deployment. The other he was like trying to. I heard he was gonna give it away as like a gift to someone. I think it was Craig Miller, and then obviously all this blew up, so he didn't.
Did you ever see that knife after the deployment?
After deployment, no.
Do you think he still has it realistically?
Yeah, it was an expensive knife.
Where if you had that knife, where would you have it?
In my go box. So I keep a go box for like kit plates, cami, pants, rigged up, pretty much ready to go, like for range days or whatever. That was like a go box to operate.
Yeah. For
training trips, it'd probably be in there.
Is that something you keep like in your cage in the team, or is it something you keep at your house, or where do you keep it?
So at a platoon, it'd be in our cage. I'm not a platoon, so I keep it at my house.
Okay.
For him, he was at trade it, and it would have been there for sure, but now I think he's going to group or something, so I don't know if he's going to have a cage or if he even still has a cage there.
Okay. So it's realistic. I mean, it could be at his house, it could be...
I would put money on it that he has the knife still. Okay. Whether it's at his house, whether he framed it, whether it's still in his go box, I don't know.
I mean, you said you've obviously been to his house before. He lives down the street.
Yeah.
Have you been to his house since the deployment?
No, he brought us all in after deployment to like smooth things over because he got back first before anyone else and started saying all this stuff about us, how we were pussies, and we all knew that this was going to happen. Actually, some guys thought he was going to like. He apologized to guys that night I told you about, where he met up with the E6s and was going to fire Joe Arrington. Apparently, he apologized to guys, but then it was still like a month and a half before we came back home. And he was being shady then. He was like having guys pay for his food. There's money going missing out of like the community, like, you know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that box, you know. What else? What else was he doing? Yeah, he had.
So back to his house, though. I mean,
yeah, sorry.
Does he have a lot of weapons and stuff in his house? A lot of knives,
you know, I know
guns, anything?
Honestly, he doesn't put any effort and time into like training on his own time. Like, I'm a sniper, I have a sniper rifle, I got a pistol that I'll practice with on weekends and stuff. He has, I'm almost positive he's got a SIG, and he's just like, yeah, I got a SIG because, a 226, because I got it like after SQT. We'll get their like class number put on it. It's like $1,000. It's a deal that a lot of guys get. I can't remember if he's got an AR-15 or not. I'm almost 100% positive he's got a SIG, but he's like, yeah, I'm not really a gun guy, you know. Maybe an AR-15.
It's not like he has like a knife collection or anything in his house where he
Knife collection?
Yeah.
If he had any kind of weapon collection, it would be a knife collection, but not a gun collection.
Okay. So I'm just thinking about where this knife might be. That's why I'm asking these questions about.
Honestly, he would be the type of guy to like put it in a shadow box. Either put it in a shadow box or have that knife with him like all the time. As in like whenever he's in camis and going to ranges and stuff, he has that knife on him because he's like kind of guy that would pull it out and brag, or the kind of guy that would put it into like a shadow box and then be like, yeah, that's that knife. But
Okay. Any other instances that you specifically witnessed that he did? I mean, you obviously witnessed that kid being shot. Oh, actually, did you hear that gunshot when it went off?
I can't even remember. There's so many gunshots all the time, you know, and I couldn't even tell you.
Okay. So you couldn't.
I know my first thought was it was ISIS.
Okay.
And then because of Arrington and what he heard, I put all the pieces of the puzzle together. 100% believe it was him because of I know Dylan DeLay saw him shoot old man.
Okay.
I heard that story. That was just a old man walking, and he shot him. And then all the times he came back and bragged to me about killing chicks. There was also, you know, I had Ivan Villanueva, a couple new guys be like, yeah, he tried to talk me into shooting the ALGL 40 Mike. Lighting up the whole river bank with 40 Mike, and it was just a bunch of women and kids playing in the river. Because it got to the point where women and children would come down and play in the river for like hours, and we would just watch for ISIS fighters. And it was like we'd make sure they get water and everything, you know, and they weren't being bothered by ISIS. So it was that was actually kind of a cool thing. But then he was like doing bullshit, like trying to get him to light up the riverside with 40 Mike. And Ivan was like, I'm not gonna do that, there's women and children. This is according to Ivan, and Eddie was like something to the effect of, fuck you, I'm your chief, you're gonna do what I say or you're not gonna go out again. So he just shot 40 Mike like our side of the river, and all Eddie heard was explosions, and he was like, good. Didn't say anything else. He's like, yeah.
Intentionally missed just to.
Yeah, there's stuff like that going on all the time. Like,
you ever hear about snipers doing anything else to try and protect people?
Yeah, they're messing with the sniper rifle.
Any idea who was doing that?
I have no idea. I actually didn't hear that until we got back, and I was like, why? That was an awesome idea. I should have done that. Okay. I should have.
Anything else you hear about people doing to protect civilians?
Warning shots, getting people off the street. Me and Ivan, we would stop ordering Carl G rounds, so we'd just run out and be like, yeah, you know, they're out. We'd say, hey, yeah, they're out of javelin rounds.
So you're in charge of the weapons, right?
Yeah, weapons and ordnance. Yep.
So that was your responsibility. So you stopped ordering these larger rounds, these explosive rounds,
yeah,
just so that Eddie couldn't use them against civilians.
Yeah, it was getting crazy.
Is that your pure reason for doing it?
Not only that, but we were shooting like he'd go off and have guys shoot like 20 of these Carl G rounds, and in combat you're only supposed to shoot 6. So I think the highest was like 22 or something one day that guy shot.
So Eddie was purely the reason why you stopped ordering these?
Yeah, it was crazy. Guys were coming back at the end of it. I've had a headache for like 8 months since this one day I was around 10. Guys were around like 22 being shot internal of the building. It tears up your brain basically, and we're just like Ivan was like shooting them the most because I wasn't around it. Towards the end of the deployment, I like backed away from the rockets because it was messing me up, and he was like, yo, I'm not gonna order any of these, and I was like, yeah, dude, that's a great idea.
we're just gonna tell them we're out, and then or we'd only pack the trucks with like 6,
Okay.
you know.
So if you're in charge of weapons and ordnances, did you issue everyone the sniper rifles?
Yeah.
So at some point were they all assigned out to you, and then
Yep.
Did the snipers have their same general weapons they used every day?
Yeah.
So
Unless there was what happened towards the end where we were just doing sniper stuff, we weren't really doing mortars or anything. So a lot of guys weren't deployed; they're just sitting in trucks. I was like, "Hey, you can take my sniper rifle out, man. Just
Okay.
to see what you can see."
So is there a particular weapon that Eddie primarily used?
Mark 13.
Is there like a actual like one that he used, like one that we could trace back to a single serial number?
Yeah.
Or did he take out multiple of them?
No, it was one single one. Here's paperwork. It'd be an Alpha Platoon's high bay. Ivan would have it. I would have to go in there and look as well.
Is Ivan still
Yeah.
the same platoon?
Yeah.
An Alpha platoon?
Yep.
So if we bring him in, you think he'd be, I mean, he was pretty fed up with Eddie's nonsense as well?
He was. You know, he's a young kid though. No dad, broken home, rough streets of IB, doing some shady stuff growing up. Didn't really have a mentor. Whether or not he talks, he's got that like little gangster, like I don't talk to the police attitude. Good guy. I think he would. I hope he would.
Okay.
At least help out. I know for a fact he was fed up. As a new guy, first platoon, combat platoon.
Yep.
Towards the end, he's like,
What's his rank right now, sorry?
B5.
Okay.
Might have got busted down.
What do you do?
IA violation, and then not quite a bar fight, but he was out with our former LPO, JC Burns, at a bar. JC went outside, got jumped by 4 guys. He went to go try to find the 4 guys. They circled him, and he pulled out a knife. Like, get the fuck away from me, and cops got called, and they said that I've been pulled a knife on him, basically. I don't remember if he got busted down to E4. He's at least on probation, but he's either E4 or E5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is 100% up to you, but if he kind of indicates he's not really willing to talk to us because he doesn't really know what this is about,
Yeah.
would be something where you'd be like, hey man, they're not going after you, just go sit down and have a conversation with them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean,
I won't bring up your name in any way.
No, I don't
until
care.
I approach you about it.
Hey, I honestly don't care. Like, I'm over it. Like,
yeah.
This needs to be done. We've been pushing for it, and for some reason, it's just been stalled.
Okay.
And it's time.
You want to go through some of these questions about these?
Real quick, just so I don't forget. When we got back, and he was spreading all these rumors about us, we made sure our head Craig Miller went and talked to the Master Chief. I don't know what that Master Chief Heinonen. I don't know what that entailed.
What's his last name?
Heinonen. It's Heinonen.
Do you know what his first name is?
Matt.
What? Heinen?
Heinonen. I don't know what that entailed, but I know he talked to him. Because Craig was like, basically, like, guys, I'm gonna handle this. And I talked to Craig a lot, and I know he was. And he talked to Senior Chief or Master Chief now, Brian Alzawi, who is our troop SDA.
You know how to spell his name? Oh, we've heard it before.
It's Alazzawi, I believe.
You get that?
He works at group now.
So he's a Master Chief now?
He's a Master Chief now. He was a Senior Chief, yeah.
And it's Al.
A-L-A, I think Z-Z-A-W-I, Alzawi.
Okay.
And Lieutenant McNeil, also, I'm not sure who he talked to at the headship of the team, but he was talking to the headship of the team about Eddie. And word got around back to Eddie, basically, that our platoon was saying stuff about him. And he went up to Corey Scott, and maybe Christian Nolan was like, people keep saying shit about me, I'm gonna fucking kill him. And I know he said it once. I believe he said it twice. To different guys. He didn't say it to me. There's all this shitstorm coming down on him. So typical manipulative Eddie, he comes in, calls a high bay meeting, and he goes, "Hey guys, I'm bringing you in here as like a sign of respect." This was the whole platoon, including Jake Portier. Sign of respect, I don't need to do this, but I'm gonna put a target on myself, and I hear you guys are saying a lot of things about me, but the one thing that really bothers me is you guys call me a thief. And he was going around through other guys' stuff while we were gone, and he would go and ruffle through and take like stuff out of our care packages and stuff. And then guys' sunglasses started going missing, the money thing. And he's like, you guys people are calling me a thief, and that's one thing I don't like. So what was it? Did I steal your cookie butter, Day? I gave it back to you. I'm from this type of community or family where, everything is everyone's. So, we just share everything, which is complete bullshit because he would lock all the good stuff in his room. Anyways, and just go through our shit. And then guys are like, no, we're talking about the sunglasses. My sunglasses went missing, and then I called everyone out, and then you walked by, and the sunglasses were on the table, and they're suddenly fit to this small little head. And then it was like, yeah, what about the time you had me buy you dinner, and then had me pay for dinner, and then we came back, and you told everyone you bought it, and the other time, someone...
That's what was bugging him, though, is the theft thing that people were saying.
No, because I'll tell you why. So at the end of the conversation, I'm like, Eddie, it's not about the stealing. It's because you're using us for bait to draw fire. And like that, among other issues, he cut me off. And he's like, no, that's tactics. I wouldn't do anything different tactically. We're not going to talk about tactics. All we're talking about is stealing. So then at the end of the conversation, he's like, so are we good? And everyone's just like no. I told you stole this, and this, and every time that someone bring it up, he'd be like, no, that's a lie. That's not true, that's a lie. And then at the end, they're like, okay, so we good? And everyone's just like, no, this is ridiculous. And he's like, okay, cool, we're good. And then I know he went up to his master chief and was like, hey, I smoothed it over with the platoon. It's a big misunderstanding, everything's good. And he was going to use just being able to talk about stealing as a blanket, fix for everything. The guy's a psycho. He's super manipulative.
That seems to be a common theme that everyone says he's extremely manipulative.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He knows how to.
Yeah. And so that was supposed to smooth it over for a while, and then we're still obviously trying. We kind of went 3 sheets to the wind. Everyone broke up after deployment, and we're still keeping in touch. Hey, a little bit later, we get back from our leave period, and everyone's checking in, checking out, trying to spend time with family, and we thought our head chef team had heard about Eddie, and they're gonna do something, and we hear he gets this SAUC chief cell, which is awesome for your career. It's awesome that he's for a chief to have that position because you're dictating tactics for basically taking down whole cities or towns, villages, whatever, buildings. And we're like, what the heck is going on? So then this is now January. We're kind of being told yeah, no, it's going to happen. We're going to take care of it. January IQC, it's instructor qualification course that myself, Corey Scott, Craig Miller, and Michael Stoner are in. And we're hearing all this, after action reports about guys that screwed up, and we're like, wait a second, none of this shit is so minor compared to what we went through, and it was we're kind of wait, it's been 4 months that we've been back, 3 months, why isn't anything be done? So then we started getting back on the ball, and Craig's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna start barking up the chain again, and he starts barking up the chain. I think it was to Master Chief Alzawi. And Alzawi comes back, and he's like, hey, I didn't know the full story, now I know the full story, blah, 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 and he's like, all right, I'm going to take care of you, we're going to fire him from SAUC, blah, 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 and this whole time we're like, okay, great, you're going to take him away from the community and put him in a box, and then this investigation's going to happen,
because he's saying he's gonna kill them, whoever is talking shit. So we're like, let's get him. Like, he needs to get away from us first, and then this investigation's gonna happen. You know, like that's our assumption. We're just assuming this. And so he's like, yeah, we're handling it. Boom, 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 we're handling it. I'm like, great. You know, finally I can sleep at night. And we're like, great. Yeah, this is good. Things are happening. And then what happened? It'd been like every couple weeks. He's like, hey, Craig, I need to talk to you. Craig, I need to talk to you. I was out. And then he's like, you know, pulling the platoon, and Craig's trying to talk to us, and I'm just like, Craig and I are both talking. We're like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, are they trying to put this on us? Like, what do we need to do? We'll do it. We don't care. We're setting it up our chain, you know. And what was that? A couple weeks ago, Alzawi comes up. He's like, and Lieutenant Commander Brush. They're like, hey, Eddie didn't get fired, so we heard he got fired from South. I'm like, okay, great. He fired from South, and fired from South. Tried review board. Investigation's gonna happen. You know, we're like thinking, all right, cool. Again, they comes in a couple weeks ago and pulls all of us in that are around. And he's like, hey, you know, Eddie didn't get fired. He's actually just got put over at Group 1 and 8, and he's going to be able to develop there. And I can't guarantee that he's not going to make Senior Chief or Master Chief, blah, blah, blah. And we're just like, what? Like, what is going on here? We're all on an assumption, again, that this was being handled because we sent up our chain of command, you know? And he's like, well, there's nothing criminal, blah, 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 unless you specifically saw it. You can't sign your name. I was like, I don't care. Like, it was before this. I told him, Craig, I'm like, Craig, it was Friday. I'm like, hey, man, I'll go to the Commodore right now. Like, I'll go to the Commodore. And that's when he told Alzawi, he's like, hey, man, we're ready to go to the Commodore. Like, everyone's fed up. This needs to happen. That's when he's like, all right, Eddie's getting fired from South. So now we come over, and he's like, yeah, well, apparently Bryce or Alzawi, one of them, they talked to a JAG, and they're like, well, this is all hearsay. If you guys didn't specifically see anything that was criminal, no one's going to press charges, no one's even going to want to investigate it, you're going to look like an, I didn't say you're going to look like an idiot, but that's the gist of this, like, they're not going to take this as credible. And we're like, okay, like, we'll put our name on it, but, like, we're trying to do the proper thing and use the right channels, you know. If like whatever, if one of us goes up and does a backdoor channel of going straight to the Commodore, we'll be blacklisted or something, I'm sure, because all of Eddie's boys will talk shit on us, whatever. But at this point, I was like, I don't care. I'll go straight to the Commodore or whatever you need me to sign. And then I was kind of bluffing because I didn't see him do specifically, I guess, anything like stab the prisoner. I wasn't out that day. The girl, I didn't see Eddie pull the trigger and the bullet go out. You know, he used me as bait, and apparently no one cares about that. That's like not a big deal. The JAG was interested in stealing sunglasses. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, this is crazy. This is insane. It got to the point where I was just like, fuck it. If the SEAL teams or whatever, if the Navy wants Eddie Gallagher, they can have him. I'm getting out. And then, what happened? I talked to my buddy who had been involved in a drug investigation back in the early 2000s. And it was his platoon. He wasn't involved in it, but it was his platoon. And he's like, man, dude, you need to get this investigation going. Like, this has been too long. And I was like, all right, come back on board. Let's do it. And I went up to Craig and we had a meeting with Jake Portier, our OIC, and we're like, this needs to happen. Like, I was like, hey, man, if I don't find out that someone is launching this investigation finally, I'm going up. I said I was going, I don't even know where to go, but I said NCIS or I said Commodore or something, whatever. Whoever, I'll just go walking around telling everyone, I'll go Fox News, I don't give a shit. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna handle it. The weekend happened. happened, and then finally, Craig said he had a meeting with like Bresh and Alzawi. I was like, okay, good. How'd it go? He's like, it went well. I think they met. Bresh and Alzawi maybe in Portier met with our team head shed, and that's when that whole Jag thing happened with the sunglasses. And a week went by, I think, and that's when brings us to this Monday. And Craig's just like, hey man, I was like, hey, what's up? How's your weekend? He's like, good. Let's not talk about deployment anymore. I was like, all right, check. Don't want anything, but basically my point being is like, in the back of my mind, I do think that Eddie will come over and start seeking revenge on people, and that's why we've been trying so hard for us to get him away from us, like whatever, and then have this investigation happen, and even my wife is like, we need to get out of here, we need to move immediately, and Craig's thinking about sending his kid and wife away to Texas for the time being, yeah. What else? What can I tell you?
It's a lot. I mean,
it's crazy. This is all crazy.
So he's gonna go through and he's gonna follow up, and
yeah.
He's probably, since he's been taking notes and he's got a lot of notes I can see here, he's gonna start from the beginning.
Yeah.
A couple questions real quick before we do that.
Yeah.
Did you guys keep a lot of photos? Sorry, did you guys keep a lot of photos or videos from deployment?
I personally didn't. I wasn't a photo guy. I know some guys did. Some guys had GoPros. There's like 3 or 4 guys had GoPros. So I've been meaning to go get photos from these guys. Now that we're back and we have time.
Did you ever see photos from the day that he stabbed that girl? Or that guy?
Stabbed the guy? No. Guys may have had cameras out.
Did you hear about anything else that happened while they were out there? Like after he stabbed that guy?
He did his re-enlistment over him.
Okay. You ever heard that happening before?
Like another SEAL doing that?
Yeah.
No.
Is it,
like stabbing a prisoner?
No. Like doing your re-enlistment out in the field like that?
Oh, in the field? I don't doubt that it's happened, but I haven't heard of it.
Okay.
Usually it's like on the Oak Course or something.
Did you ever see any pictures from that re-enlistment?
No.
Okay.
Again, I wasn't a picture guy. I was so busy.
So who were the primary guys? I mean, like, say pictures were taken that day, other days. Who were the main guys who would probably have pictures or computers or whatever where we could find these things?
TC Byrne had a computer with a bunch of pictures on it.
Okay. Personal or government computer?
I think it's personal.
Laptop, desktop?
Laptop.
Okay. Any idea what kind?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. And then like a bunch of dudes had GoPros.
Okay.
I got pictures of like our living conditions on my phone right here.
That's all right. All right, start going through. I know you're gonna have a ton of questions.
While we're talking about the GoPros, do you know specifically who had GoPros?
Yeah. I mean, just the ones that come to my mind.
Yeah.
Ivan Villanueva, who's like really good at editing photos.
Okay.
TC might have had one or some kind of camera because he took a bunch of pictures. Stoner? Mike Stoner might have.
Did Eddie?
Eddie had a phone. He brought his phone everywhere. He had 2 phones. So he had his iPhone and he had a Galaxy, which was his, what's that called? ATAC phone. So he had like Google Maps, basically. Tactical Google Maps that he had. I don't know if they took any pictures with that, but it definitely is his iPhone, for sure.
He did take pictures with his iPhone?
Oh, yeah, all the time. He's a big taking his own pictures type guy.
Sorry, who was that?
Eddie?
Okay.
Okay.
Wait a second. Now I remember.
Eddie had taken pictures of that day, and apparently he sent them back home to somebody. And I don't remember who, but it apparently been getting around like West Coast of maybe Eddie stabbing someone or somebody, and somebody called him up and was like, yo, what's the story behind this? And he was like, I don't know what he said, but basically he came storming into our room and was like, what the fuck? Who's sending pictures back home, blah, blah, blah. And he blamed it on our EOD guy that got shot in the leg. Was saying that he was sending pictures around our EOD guy. Somebody talked to him and was like, no, I don't have any pictures. Like, what the hell is he talking about? I don't even know if he was out that day.
So, what were your capabilities as far as sending it? Like, if you were to try and send a picture back home, how would you do it? With your cell phone? With your
cell phone? So we had little pucks.
Okay.
And they ran off of local networks.
Okay.
And everyone had cell phones out there. Cell phone towers still worked.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So basically VPN on your phone and using either Signal or WhatsApp or Wicker. Usually, if you're like being careful, I doubt Eddie was being careful, he probably just used iMessage or whatever. And then yeah, cell phone towers worked, and then we had Wi-Fi back in our houses.
So, you think Eddie had a picture of that day?
If there's a picture, he probably got it, because he's all about himself.
Okay. And you think he's the one who would have sent it back home?
Yeah, I mean, I would take my EOD guy's word over his any day.
Okay. Any idea who he might have sent it to?
No, he's got friends. Most of his friends are like chiefs and senior chiefs, master chiefs, so I wouldn't even. They're way before me.
Do you know what that picture actually shows?
No. All we heard is him coming in pissed off, like, who fucking sent pictures back home, blah, blah, blah. Who's sending this picture out?
Okay.
And it was like a 5-minute conversation of him just coming in and making a big show, and turns out it wasn't even anyone. So.
Go ahead, Dave.
Alright.
Alright.
Some of the stuff I took notes on, but I think we've circled back around and took care of some of them, but let's see. Alright, so back to the interpreter who got blown up. Who was that?
So his name was Doy. I'm actually still in contact with one of our Terps back home, and I could get his full name if you need to, but his name was Doy. He was a local Terp, lived in Baghdad, had been working with U.S. forces since I think 2011, before we pulled out, because actually probably before that, because we pulled out in 2011. He'd been in 3 different IED explosions, so this was his 4th time to get blown up. But he worked with conventional army units before.
Okay. What do you look like?
Dude, do I have a picture of Doy? No. I have a picture of Phil. Let me see.
And if you can get his full name somehow, that
Yeah,
would help out a lot too.
Definitely get it. So I'll just give you a physical description. Short black hair, probably about 5'9", 170 pounds. Dark skin. Had good English. He was, I think he was Shia, and his wife was Sunni. Now he has 2 kids. He has a baby girl, who's probably about pushing 3 years old, and his son was born, I think right after he got blown up. Actually, his wife was due 2 days after that. So it would have been probably like April, I want to say. For some reason, April's ringing a bell. February, March, yeah, about April. She was due around April-May period.
So it was 2 days before her.
2 days. 2 days before she was due.
And that was the day that happened?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was in April.
I'm almost positive it was in April.
Okay. So, and did this occur before the stabbing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were still working out of Mamalo when.
That's down on the south side?
Yep.
Okay. you know when stabbing happened?
Towards the end, probably in June. Let me see when this picture. I got a picture of us hanging out at the dam. I think that was in July after everything calmed down. Yeah. It had to have been, July. We were trying to do turnover. I think it was like May, June.
Okay. All right.
Because we had already shifted around to the north. We were working out of, what's that town? I forgot the name of it right now for some reason. Berdouche Heights. Yep. We were working out of Berdouche at this time. And it was towards the beginning of Berdouche, so I think it was early June.
Okay. And the EOD guy, who was that?
I got shot in the leg. That was Mondragon. I think his first name's St. John. Yeah, it's like St. John Bernard Mondragon or something like that. Some crazy name. It's a sick name. But he's
easy to find.
He's SEAL Team 7 Alpha Platoon. Right now they're in assaults up a little closer.
Mondragon?
Mondragon. Mondragon.
Okay.
His parents really liked him.
Yeah.
He's team what?
He's EOD, but he's attached to SEAL Team 7.
Still?
Yeah, they're starting their workup cycle right now.
Okay. How long will he be around?
So this is their second week of CQC. They'll be in La Posta next week. They'll get back on Friday, and then probably Monday they leave for San Clemente Island.
Okay.
For 2.5 weeks.
Okay. All right.
Same with Ivan. And Christian Mullen, Josh Graffam is also in the platoon.
So they'll all be out in San Clemente in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
They might have an admin week. My brother's attached to that same team. He sent me their schedule. I can try to pull it up real quick.
How detailed are the records that Ivan would be able to provide as far as the weapons go?
Oh, every time, we're crazy about it. I'm crazy about it. Every time someone else is in possession of another weapon, I document it and I have paperwork for it. So before
Just
we
like
left,
daily thing, like while you were deployed?
so before we deployed, I gave everyone basically their loadout that they were in charge of and a piece of paper saying, this is it with your serial numbers, sign it.
So 1149.
1149, exactly. And it stays in their weapons case at the end of deployment. They give it back to me with all their weapons. I do a full serialized inventory before I come back home.
Okay.
And if anything's broken, we switch it out. Everything's documented completely. Here we go. Here's their troop deployment. So okay, so we'll be up at CGC till April 20th, and then they'll have an admin week, and they don't go to South till May 1st. So they'll actually have an admin week back in San Diego of the week of between the 20th of April and May 1st.
And where are they at right now?
La Posta.
Okay. And they're there till Friday? Is that right?
So they're home on the weekends. They'll get back Friday, and then go back Monday to Friday.
Okay.
And then they'll have their next week off, and then they'll go to San Clemente Island.
Okay, so let's go through again. I know you said the names, but I want to make sure. So who's in this rotation right now, where they're only going to be available pretty much from that 20th of April through 1st of May? So you said Ivan is there?
Ivan Villanueva, Christian Mullen, and Josh Graffam. And Graffam and Ivan were the two that Eddie was using at the end for bait, when everyone else was like, screw you. Eddie, it got to the point where Eddie wouldn't even be in the same sniper as me. He'd put me wherever. I was like by myself.
So if Ivan's not back for like another week, is there anyone else, like, do you have the capability to go and get all of those records of the firearms?
Yeah, I just go on the Ivan and get them.
Any chance you could do that for us?
Yeah.
I mean,
Anytime. When do you want 'em?
Whenever you can get them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I need you to go this afternoon after we're
Okay.
done, but are you going into work tomorrow?
No, my family's coming down, but I mean, if you guys needed them tomorrow afternoon, I could get them.
I can do Monday. We can wait.
Yeah.
I'm going into work on Monday.
Yeah, I'll be in on Monday.
Let's plan on that. That
Okay.
work?
Yeah.
Whatever documentation you get.
As long as the high bay code's still the same, I can get it. You know?
Okay.
And my name's on it. It's my paperwork, anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'd appreciate that. That'd be huge.
I know for sure though that his rifle was one of the sniper rifles that when I turned in, the gunner's mates gauge them, and I think the barrel was shot out or something, and they sent it. I believe they sent him back to Crane.
Okay.
But I can get you serial numbers for everything I had.
Well, Crane, will they? So, do you think it's already? You think they've already repaired it, or what do you think?
I hope so. If not,
they just replace it.
They just rebarrel it. They keep everything else usually.
That should be pretty easy to find.
Yeah, once you have serial number.
Yeah, if they have serial numbers.
Did you guys keep maintenance logs or anything, or did you just like
For weapons?
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's on the individual shooter to keep round count logs. Eddie didn't do that. He didn't clean his guns. That's why his gun failed. So dirty.
Did he ever have to use anyone else's gun because his failed?
He might have. I don't think so though. I mean, we were trading off guns. Like we'd be like if we put up like four snipers get up there, use guns, and then everyone kind of rotate as they need breaks or they're eating or something. But I mean, no, he primarily had his weapon because we use different scopes. He liked the old Night Force. We all use the new Tremors, Schmidt Benders, and we're working minutes and mills. He liked minutes. We all liked mills.
Gotcha. Just because it's a possibility when you pull that paperwork, can you pull the whole platoons? I know it's a lot.
Yeah, I have an entire binder of the. It's like 3-inch, 4-inch binder. If that's what you want.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Because it all could be relevant.
Okay.
So, back to you said when he was using people for bait or whatever he was doing when he would.
Oh, I didn't go into one of the biggest story for drawing fire story with myself. So we were. This was when we were working out at British Heights and middle. So like the first part, it was very open terrain. Then we started getting into the streets. Then we started getting into the real urban tight areas. We got closer to Old Mosul. At that point, we're like, we can't see anything. We're not having partner force at all. Let's go around. We went to the east side of the river. So, as we're in the middle part, where it's kind of open, but not really, basically like the suburbs equivalent of Iraq. We went out. It was Dalton was driving. Dalton Tolbert was driving. Eddie was in the front seat, and then our other EOD tech, LJ, was in the back seat with myself, and there had to be one more person there because I think I was sitting in the middle. Anyways, we were going through some real narrow streets that partner force wasn't really around, so ID threats high. So Eddie's like, "Yo, LJ, bump out." I was like, "All right, cool. Hey, LJ, I got your security." We're walking, clearing a path for the mat V's, and Eddie's like, "Hey, pull the mat V's up on this basically empty lot." He's like, "Pull the mat V's up there." Now this empty lot is an empty corner lot overlooking the entire city of Western Mosul. It's up high, elevated, and it's like basically if you saw a Chevy Silverado commercial pulling up high on the mountain, that's where we were. Alright, basically like the least tactical position ever. And they pull up, two mat V's pull up there, Eddie gets in the truck, LJ and I are out, and all of a sudden, loud snap goes over my head, and I'm like, oh fuck. LJ, we're taking rounds right now, and I put it over comms, hey, we're taking rounds. LJ didn't hear me, and he like just casually walked behind the mat V, and started pissing, and then another round hit the Mat V bumper, and Dalton was driving that Mat V, and he started backing up, and he's like, LJ's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, LJ, get over here. Another round goes over our heads, and it had to be like, I thought it was 40 Mike, but it was just, I'm thinking like 50 cal hitting the brakes behind us, so it was so loud. And he's like, all right, let's take you trucks back. So we take the trucks back, probably not even 100 meters from that spot, and they're going to find a sniper hide. So they go in, we end up finding a bunch of HME and IEDs in the house. That was just a cache, so they went up to the top, blew some loopholes, and he was like, hey Vriens, why don't you take the Mat V over kind of where we were, but grab some cover behind that building. And I was like, alright, whatever. I have to go past that danger zone once, but I was like, what, doesn't matter, whatever. And then he's like, hold on, wait till I get up on glass, and that way, if you take any rounds, I'll be able to find out where it's coming from and shoot. I was like, alright, that's kind of weird that he's saying that, because we can never see where it was coming from. Like, there was, I think, 2 times they used tracer rounds, and you could tell where it was coming from, that's it. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And then, like, he's gonna provide cover for me. I'm in a Mat V with a 50 cal, and he's got a Mark 13. And he's like, all right, hey, cool, I'm set, go ahead. So I go, and Corey Pullman's in the Mat V behind me, and it's like a corner lot, building here, and I need to come up, make a right-hand turn, then back up behind this building where there's cover, and Corey's gonna pull right here, and this is like a 5-foot wall right here, with a little space, like kind of a courtyard wall in the building. So I go on, I'm driving, I'm in the vehicle by myself. I had a controller to shoot if I needed to, and I'd make a right turn, and as soon as I start backing up, there's a big explosion right less than 10 feet in front of my truck. So I kept backing up till I grabbed some cover, and I remember McNeil coming over the comms like, holy shit, Josh, are you alright, I'm like, yeah, it didn't hit me. And then he's like, hey, pull those trucks back over. So I just like, real quick go over, and then I go up to the sniper hide where Eddie's at, and McNeil's like, well, like, that was nuts. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a rocket. And then Eddie's like, hey, why don't you go back out there and see if you can just like shoot some 50 cal into the city? And I'm like, no, like I didn't even have any time to get a gun. Like I didn't have time to put the truck in park or hit the brakes. Like I almost got hit by that rocket. He's like, I don't know, I think it was just a mortar. And I was like, no, I think it was a rocket, because there's like, mortars have 30-second flight time at least, and he's like, whatever. It does this like little peer pressure in your pussy thing, and that's when everything completely flipped for me.
All he wanted was you to go back out there so he could try and find the target?
Yeah, and then later that day he got in the Vic, pulled into another spot, and had me and Corey Pullman pull into like a supporting position, and he was just like, we just hear him firing like hundreds of 50 cal. And I'm like, yo, Eddie, what are you shooting at? He's like, I see movement in this building. And he talks me onto it, and there's just a black sheet floating in the wind. And he's like, see the movement? I'm like, Eddie, that's a sheet. He's like, no, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I shot a bunch of 50 cal at it, though. And I'm like, because I think, I say I think, but I'm like 98% sure he was on something. And because Kurdistan was right there, we live in Kurdistan, like they had pharmacies, basically like Tijuana, I'm like 98% sure he's on something, because one, I'd clean out the trucks and there'd be like any empty little pill things that I brought to the corner, and he's like, no, we don't get those. And it was all underneath his seat, and then there was other times he'd be like all hyped up, ready to go, and then all of a sudden like fall asleep on his gun, AD, or on the way out to OP, pop something in his mouth. And I don't know if he's had a prescription or what, he's also a medic. I know I think he had like herniated disc or something. I don't know, but the guy got crazier and crazier, and I know for a fact, like Josh Graffam helped clean out the seats one day, and he came back with like all these pill packages. They had single use, whatever.
No idea what kind it would be.
I could guess it was an amphetamine. I remember for some reason thinking it's an amphetamine.
Okay.
Yeah, like this was almost coming up on a year. It was April. Yeah, it was actually Doig got hit pretty soon here. So.
Okay. So back the first time when he told everybody not to tell other people about whatever shit y'all went through.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other EOD unit got hit. Do you remember what story I'm talking about? This is
okay. Well. So there's a couple times. So in the very beginning, our 6th platoon, Golf, they ran into a IED around Mosul International Airport. That was like the first week and a half or so, and then later where we did our HLZ for the medevac when Doi got hit, their EOD guy and Chief found a cache of 155 millimeter artillery rounds. That went off. And then later, and blew up the EOD guy. He lived, like crazy story. And then later, we went to that same spot where Doi got hit. 2 days or 3 days prior, that's when they got hit with the rocket propelled device.
So which ones did Eddie specifically tell you guys, like, don't tell them about, and then they end up getting hit?
Oh, Eddie would. When they ended up getting hit.
Wasn't that first spot, that first like rice or whatever warehouse? Didn't you say you guys had been there, started taking fire?
Oh.
And then
like on the rooftop, yeah, but that fire was coming from like the north and not the east. It would have been. So I don't know what he was debriefing that chief either, because they were like kind of buddy, but Eddie wouldn't let us tell his platoon anything. He would go from Eddie to the chief and expect the chief to disseminate it. And I know Eddie was filling them with some fake war stories too. So yeah, as far as like not. I mean, let me think. That got them hurt, or yeah, I don't know.
Do you know if they ever found out that Eddie was trying to shut down the information getting back to them? Or if anybody...
I mean, we told the E6s, like, hey, like they come over and be like, yo, what's up, guys? We'd be in the kitchen talking, be like, oh, what go on that day? And I'd be like, yo, nothing, man. And I'd be like, yo, I'll go over your place in an hour. That type of thing. Like, it was so stupid.
Yeah. Do you know if that ever got brought up to any of their chain or anything like that?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I'd expect, like,
yeah.
I don't know, because their chief, Mario Raby, was like friends with Eddie the whole time, and I didn't get it because Eddie just badmouthed him the whole time. I don't know if I ever got to him. I'm sure the E6s. I told them.
Yeah.
They knew. I know other guys were told them. I don't know if it got up to the LT and chief.
Do you think that Eddie was doing that? Well, it sounds highly suspicious all the times that he set people out for bait and like all that dumb shit.
Oh, sorry. Just as we're on that bait topic, he kept talking about how cool it'd be to get a Purple Heart, and then there were other instances where he would like put guys in dangerous situations. Like one time, Dalton and him had an RPG go over their head, and it or a V-bit blew up kind of close, and he was trying to put himself in for a Purple Heart for that, but not Dalton. And then there was the mustard gas incident where a platoon kind of got hit by mustard gas, and he was like, no one's getting Purple Hearts at all. Not one. But then he had, a mortar went off 30 meters away, and he had a little scratch on his eye that he said he got from shrapnel. He might have been running into a bush, and he's like, oh yeah, I had shrapnel in next to my eye, and I pulled it out. It wasn't even bleeding, but that was like another Purple Heart story. Sorry, but just for on the bait thing, the Purple Hearts.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm getting at. Do you think he was doing it? Was it apparent to you that he was doing that shit on purpose so either someone would get killed and he could
we all
have a war
thought
story
that
or
same thing? Yeah, because the shittier the situation got, the higher his award would be.
Yeah.
His buddy, his best friend before him, got a Silver Star and a Purple Heart, and he's just like metal chasing. Is what it seemed like, because I saw this write-up for his Silver Star, and I was like, that's fake, that's fake, that's fake, that was Corey, that was me, that was TC, and I'm like, it only makes sense because Jake Portier was shocked. He's like, he saw the video of when Doy got hit, and I think, no, he was there the day Dragon got hit too. But he saw the video and he's like, whoa, that is not what I've been being told. And so that's, I can't imagine why Eddie would do any other thing besides self.
So where are those two things? Like, if where would that write-up be, and then where would those videos be?
The videos, one of the photo guys got, for sure. There's like a platoon video. I lost my thumb drive with it. But I had a platoon video, and it was just like one of our JOs put music to it, and like end of deployment video. Which is another reason why I've been trying to get all my pictures back for some kind of memory of deployment.
Any idea which JO put that together?
Hanson.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's his first name?
AJ.
Oh.
I don't know his real first name, but AJ Hanson. He's over at Group. Lieutenant now. And we did a lot of good stuff at deployment, but this is like, this horrible stuff was happening, and you're only going to see stuff we want to remember on that video.
Sure.
Did you ever send out something like, hey, I'm putting together a video, if you got some stuff, send it to me?
Yeah.
So there's a chance that it puts that out to the whole platoon, and you might have sent him some stuff?
No, that was not put out to Eddie. I'll guarantee that it wasn't put out to Eddie. We didn't, honestly, it was like, if he was in the kitchen, like, you just turn and walk away. He would be working out by himself. Just no one, it was so toxic. He would wake up, as soon as he got out of the trucks from the end of the day, he would disappear, or go work out, or whatever, we'd all be working. He would get into the trucks like 5 minutes before we were leaving, and then be like loading his mags and stuff. Sorry, but on that, do I think that he was putting people in shitty situations? Yeah, 100%. Do I have any proof? Not really, except these stories and things that he said, where he was like, he'd be like, everyone be in like tactical positions, getting cover behind buildings. Someone's got a picture of him just like in front of a big old blown out window on that east side position where I think he shot that girl, and he's like sitting on a tripod in a chair, in the middle of it on a sniper rifle, and you see like two guys in the back, like looking how they should be, because towards the end it seemed like he was getting more and more desperate, and like he would just start. That's why I think he was trying to launch so many Carl G's into the city, because he wanted to draw fire to himself. And one day we got hit with what I think were Katyusha rockets, because they were not mortars. You heard the rockets go off, and they were massive. And then he wanted to stay, and Lieutenant McNeil was there that day. He was a GFC, and he was like, yeah, no, let's stay, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, negative, we're picking you guys up. We're going to RTB right now. And that's when it was like McNeil was done. Like, and then shortly after that, the whole Arrington situation happened, and it's just like, McNeil was like over it. He saw the light. I don't think Portier saw it until later. Yeah.
Just completely clear. Tom McNeil, he was the AOIC.
AOIC.
Okay.
Yeah. So so Portier was the OIC.
Yeah.
McNeil and Hanson were the AOICs. However, McNeil was outperformed Hanson. So he was like being groomed for the GFC spot, and Tom was crushing it anyway. So they gave Tom a bunch of GFC opportunities to be a leader, and he was going out every day, getting experience, exposure, and just crushing it. Hanson was like kept in the dark. He got sent away for a while to work a jock position. He got exiled to the house for a while. I don't think he even knew a lot of stuff was going on, except for word of mouth.
Cool.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. So further down the line, when his buddy that got the Silver Star, JJ, do you know who that guy is?
Yeah.
His actual name?
His name is Steve Sneed. Team 5. I'm not sure where he's at right now, though.
Is he still on T5?
No, he's not.
Okay.
I just saw him at a barbecue 2 weeks ago, though.
Did he mention anything about Eddie?
No, like, I think it's gotten around the community that, like, my friends were there, along with Chris Shoemaker was at the barbecue, and I don't even think it got brought up, like, what platoon we were in or anything, so, and I think he would keep his mouth shut, because everyone knows that we hate Eddie.
Yeah.
So if he's boys with Eddie, whatever, he wouldn't talk about it.
On the deployment where he got the Silver Star,
Yeah.
where JJ got it, was Eddie deployed on that?
No, Eddie. So it was a platoon we relieved. They were at the dam house and the Shake-On house right before us.
Okay.
Eddie went out there for like a site survey, PDSS, and then for like a week or something with Jake. They came back with it, and then there was like a week turnover, but that was the only interaction they had in country.
Okay.
Together.
So this wasn't like a significant time before where.
No, it was directly the platoon before.
Okay. All right.
And then when Dory did get blown up, Eddie came back to the house and in front of the other Terps was like, "Man, I'm glad it wasn't one of us. It was just a Terp." And there was a huge uprising. They're like, "Well, I thought we were one of the team. What And we're like, all of us love these guys. And we're like, yeah, relax. Well, we love most of them. Some of them were problems, but like the guys that were good were like your brothers. And we're like, yeah, relax, man. That's not how we feel. Blah blah blah." And,
Yeah. Okay.
there's a time too where we're in those buildings on the east side of the river again, and I think it was like Tacky W guy, and he almost got his head shot off. Because there's one kind of legit sniper that was over there. Everyone else just kind of shot at the buildings. He was putting rounds through the windows, and Eddie was like, "Where's that coming from?" We're like, "We can't tell, obviously." He's like, "All right, do the helmet trick again." And I looked over at him. His name's Gio. He's a Warsaw Tacky W guy. I looked over. I was like, "Gio, do not put your head out the window. Don't put your head on. Don't put your helmet on a stick. Don't do anything. That was a big ass round. You don't need to be doing that." And he was like, "I told you to fucking do that." Whatever. It was on comms. So I'm just like, "Yeah, we're doing it. Whatever." But it's just like another example.
Okay.
Helmet trick is you put your helmet on a stick. Yeah, but with that big of a round, it was like a 50 cal. It's just gonna blast all that frag,
Yeah.
Pretty idiotic.
So when he put himself in for all these awards, you said there were. Is that right? That there were 4 different times that he put in, or 4 different events that he listed?
So it was like, from what I remember, I was reading it. I was like, it was like 4 different events. One event was the one where Dory got hit, and he apparently, according to the war, like exposed himself to enemy fire to drag out a partner force hierarchy, whatever, to provide casualty care, whatever, and because he exposed himself to fire, blah blah blah, heroism, courage, whatever. The next one was when our EOD guy got shot. His story was that he was on the roof with the EOD guy. He provided treatment to the EOD guy, to Mondragon, and then came up with a plan to get them off the roof, and then provided care, and Buddy carried him out. Oh, I forgot this. This is going to be good. So what actually happened was Corey Scott was on the roof with Mondragon. Mondragon got shot. Corey put a tourniquet on him. Corey was like, "Hey guys, I need you to shoot me off the roof." We provided covering fire for Corey and Mondragon to get off the roof. Eddie was just crouched down at the bottom of the stairs. It was myself, Shoemake, and Ivan Villanueva providing covering fire. Corey and Dragon basically jump from the top of the stairs, hit the bottom, run inside. We take cover. Corey starts treating Dragon, and Eddie, who is also a medic, was like, hey, Corey, before Corey even finds the exit wound, was like, hey, Corey, slap a chest seal on that bullet hole and let's get out of here. Corey hadn't even found the exit wound yet. Corey ignored him and addressed it how he properly, bandaged with the pressure dressing and everything, the bullet hole, and found the exit wound and put a pressure dressing on, I believe put a pressure dressing on both. And then Eddie was like, all right, I'm carrying him out of here. So he had to carry Dragon out, buddy carry him out. And that was like, apparently it was like a big deal for him to buddy carry Dragon out. And then that was the other incident. What were the other two?
Who would you have sent that to? Jake?
Corey Scott. He was
the write-up for the Silver Star.
Oh.
He wrote that up. Who did you send it to?
You would have been Jake or Tom McNeil. And
would it have been something you would have emailed to him?
I doubt it, because we had our computers. I mean, those write-ups have got to be somewhere on the zipper drives. But they were at the Ford house. McNeil, Jake, and Eddie they stayed at Ford house all the time, and they had like a computer station, and they were in the room always talking, and the computer's right there. So I doubt it was an email. Eddie stayed off the computer mostly, anyways. So I doubt it. Could be, but I doubt it. Then there's another story where we were at that house, those two buildings on the east side of the river, and they started taking fire. So Eddie shot 2 Carl G rounds to suppress the fire, and then got in the MATVs and drove the MATV on the bridge and started shooting 50 cal into the city so that his guys could tactically maneuver away and break contact. What actually happened was, it was like over a series of the day, he shot some Carl G's, and then he was like, hey, I want to go pull the MATV up on the bridge facing the city and shoot some 50 cal. So he had the brand new guy, John Aarons, who's straight out of Stockholm, driving, and before he pulled away, Craig was like, fuck this, I'm going with. I'm not sending this guy to his death. So Craig got in, and then Eddie was in the back gunning, and he's like, told him to drive up on top of the bridge. And ISIS had all kinds of rocket guided missiles. They had RPGs, they had anything that could blow up this MAVI, and I guess he just started shooting in the city. I can't remember. I think gun malfunction or something, and they had to come back down. I don't know. Craig could talk more on that, but that was another thing, because there was it got reported. Our JTACs reported to the aircraft that, hey, we were taking fire, so there was a record of that of us taking fire, and that would also help the award because there's evidence that happened. And then I remember hearing that Eddie was debriefing the Marstock commander, the colonel, about it, or maybe his second in command, and then the other platoon, Golf, and they were just laughing because they knew that it was a fake war story. And I can't remember the other fourth thing, but then Eddie was making up fake Purple Heart stories too, where it was our EOD guy was gonna blow a loophole, and he's like, hey Eddie, back up, and he's like, no, screw that, I'm not gonna be a pussy, whatever. And then he's like, Eddie, I'm gonna blow this loophole, it's gonna jack you up, you stay right there. He's like, fuck it, just blow it. So he pops it, and then he's like, oh, TBI, and then another one was the shrapnel in the eye. That got back to another camp in Iraq that Eddie got hit in the face with shrapnel, and he pulled it out. I think another story was he got shrapnel in the stomach, but he was actually just sheathing his hatchet. He was putting his hatchet, and he scraped himself, and he said that was bullet shrapnel. The RPG one with Dalton, or the VBID one, said he got hit with VBID or something. That was going to be a TBI, but wasn't going to put Dalton in for it. And then TBI wasn't even good reason for Purple Heart anymore at that point, so he had to like go to his other fake stories. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could remember all of them. They've got to be. I know they're saved on the computer.
Okay, we'll find them. You want to get those names? Oh,
Is it fair to assume like all this crazy shit that happened was kind of a product of his own stupidity?
Yeah, 100%.
And
like I'll tell you this. I can't tell you how many times I was running across rooftops thinking, I wish ISIS was doing exactly what I'm doing right now when I'm looking at him. Because I was just following him around, making sure, being like his swim buddy, making sure he didn't get shot. He was like, in the beginning, everyone would be like, oh yeah, he's got so much combat experience. He'd be like, I've got so much combat experience, blah, blah, blah. And this is my first combat platoon deployment, and so I'm trying to learn from him. And we're just doing all this stupid shit that goes against everything we learned in training. And then, yeah, it was like he created half the stuff. We'd be like inside a building. I remember this. It was in the university on the east side in the beginning. We were doing, it was before our like sweet overnight op that we did. That was awesome. We were in there and had some sniper hides inside the building. He like went out on this ledge and he built like 3 cinder blocks up like this high. And he said that he got shot off and he had to leave his radio and his gun out there, and he's gonna go crawl back and get it. And that his radio got shot. And maybe he took a couple rounds, like rounds were falling everywhere all the time. Maybe he took a couple rounds to the building. He didn't need to be out there. He had a perfectly good position inside the building. And his radio never got shot. That was a complete lie. We looked at it, there was no bullet hole in the radio. That would be documented, like we need to turn in the radio because there's a bullet hole in it. It's CCI.
Yeah, I mean, so was that radio with all of his equipment that he was issued at the very beginning and then he turned back in? All on that same property sheet, or is it a separate one from your...
So that would be comms.
Okay.
And that was a 152 he was talking about. So yeah, it's like we'd just be... He just put us in stupid situations that we didn't need to be in, like especially towards the end where we were going back to these same 2 OPs where I thought he shot the girl. I'm almost positive he shot the girl. Every single day, and we'd be taking fire, and then like we'd be like, hey Eddie, the whole platoon was like, Eddie, let's give that place a rest. Let's go back down to the university and the prison where we had that good day and start mixing it up. And then he's like, okay, yeah, saying that it was his idea to do, and then we started rotating OPs, and then it got a lot better. But then around the 4th of July, which was like the last week of operating, he just kept going back to the same spot. So whatever. The rule is, like with the snipers, you never use, what we're trained to do is, you never use the same OP twice. If you do, use it 2 times, like you're ready for the Alamo, basically. You're super careful, and you let it rest. He would just go, like, we'd go every day, and it would be burnt. We'd be burnt. They knew we were there. They were the only 2 buildings in a big old grass field. And then, like, the second op we ever went on, we were going to build a sniper hide, and he's like, no, let's just put a bunch of sandbags on the roof, build a fighting position, and if we get shot at, we'll adjust it then. It's like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is only my second combat op, but he's the expert.
So, with all that being said, do you know of any, obviously he's been around for a while, do you know of any other operations or anything he's ever done where somebody actually got killed?
He told me a story. He was sighting in his 50 cal sniper rifle in Afghanistan, and he was just shooting away, and then all of a sudden an old guy came out from around the corner and he blasted him from like 20 meters, 25 meters away. Basically cut him in half with a 50 cal round. And I was like, do you have a gun? And he's like, no, man, I was just like a farmer. He tells fake war stories. I don't know what to believe.
So, by that I mean like our guys.
Oh, our guys? I don't even think. No, I don't think he. I couldn't say. I know the two. He was at Team 1 and he did 2 deployments to Team 1, one in Iraq, one in Afghanistan, I believe. And then his SEAL Team 7 platoons, Charlie and Delta, both Afghanistan. No one died or got. They hit an ID, but he's fine. Nitro, he's cool. No one died. So I couldn't tell you. It would be the 2 platoons at Team 1 early in his career.
Okay.
If anything, but I don't think so.
Okay. So nothing significant that stands out that could have happened because of, obviously.
No, because of him? No. Not that I can think of.
Okay.
What about anything he's ever done in the States?
So when we were in the high bay, when we got back, apparently before we got back, this is the reason why I think he was doing drugs. Because he asked V to go down to Mexico and buy him some drugs. Because V, I don't know if he had a pass or agreement. He had family in Mexico, so I think he had to do like some NCIS and get a pass and whatever, clear it with the command. I don't know if he ever went to Mexico or what, but Eddie was like, hey V, can you go down to Mexico and give me drugs? And V was like, no, I'm not doing that. The rest of the platoon found out, and Craig confronted him in that meeting in the high bay when he was talking about being a thief. And he's just like, Craig's like, that was like fucked up that you're trying to get V to go down to get drugs. And he's just like, okay.
We just blew it off?
Yeah, that was it.
Any idea what kind of drugs?
I'd guess painkillers or amphetamines, because he was probably hooked on amphetamines and painkillers maybe for his herniated disc or something.
Shrapnel in the eye.
Shrapnel, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's where I could make a deeper scratch with my fingernail in.
Slash to his side from his hatchet.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was after deployment, right?
That was, yeah, I think he asked V, like, the last week of deployment when we were still in Iraq. Yeah, because he gave V $100, and V was like, V came up to me, he's like, dude, I'm not doing it. I don't care. And Eddie already owed a Terp $100. So V just like gave him the money, and then Eddie came over and like tore V apart and like grabbed the money from him or something. Something happened. There's like a bunch of drama, and Eddie said that he went and gave Barza our Terp. Went to the ATM and gave Barza money, blah blah blah. No, I don't believe it.
Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah, I think I'm caught up.
Cool.
I just want to like think real quick if I can think of anything else.
Well, the other thing is, there's a good chance at some point I'm gonna have to talk to you in the future.
Okay.
You've got my number as well, so we can stay in contact. If you've got any questions or concerns or anything comes up, we can also talk about it on the phone if it's real quick.
Okay.
I highly doubt this will be the last time we speak. Just a heads up, but.
Okay.
Do you want to like take a breath or something, or hit the head or anything like that, and see if there's anything else that comes up?
Yeah, if I could use a head real quick.
Yeah.
unless you got any other crazy stories, which wouldn't surprise me. Especially anything. I mean, I'm pretty sure as soon as you get out of here, more things will come to your mind.
Yeah.
Like I said, though, I'm sure we'll be following up again in the future. Like, there might be other things we have to clarify, especially when I finish talking to everyone else, where they bring up something and they mention that you might have been there.
Yeah.
And then I can just give you a call, and if we need to come back in here.
Definitely. Yeah, I would say,
So you said BTC phase 2?
yeah, second phase.
So obviously you're here in San Diego for a while.
Yeah, I'll be there till January 2020, and then I'm gonna get out.
Okay.
But like I'm completely involved. Like,
It seems like Eddie kind of burned out everybody.
yeah.
Like everyone who's on your platoon, just it's like I'm done.
No, there's not one guy. You know, I love Jake. The guy freaking means well. Jake Portier. You know, he's got a huge heart, and I think he was trying to help Eddie too much, even when all this was going on. And I don't fault him because Eddie was so manipulative, and I think he just can't believe a lot of this because he didn't see it. You know, he wasn't around it. I know it's not going to stand up with court of law or whatever, but everyone, hopefully including Jake, every single swinging dick in the platoon, like, is done. He didn't have any respect for our lives. You know, he was trying to put us in shitty situations just to better his own career and make the story of the legend. You know, someone was talking about Chris Kyle and his book and everything, and Eddie was like, Chris Kyle, how many people did he kill? 100 something? Yeah, well, I've been out 80 times and I kill at least 3 people every time, so you do the math. And everyone just like, you know, here's that story and we laugh about it because it's like, yeah, you kill people.
Yeah.
And like a lot of your stories are fake anyways. You know, it's funny how you say you kill these people and no one sees your kills too.
Yeah.
He just blasts into windows and like, got him. I would, like, I'd be willing to bet if, I don't know, if Tramadol. That was it. I think he was taking Tramadol. And I remember we took the pill packs. I can't remember if it was Tramadol or what that we found under the seat. And I took it to our corpsman, Scott, and I was like, dude, what is this? And he's like, I can't remember if it was Tramadol or there's like Provigil is another, it's an amphetamine that we get. And not we get, but the corpsmen get, and he's like, yeah, dude, we get those in bottles. We don't get them in individual packages. Like, he must be getting them from town or something. And I'd be willing to bet if he was drug tested or if there's some kind of drug test I can go back or something, he'd pop.
So, was he a corpsman too, Eddie?
Eddie, yeah. So
he was a corpsman.
He got his own drug load out.
Corey Scott was.
Yeah.
TC was.
John Aarons. And then we had our support guy who's IDC.
So they're all corpsmen qualified?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sockums.
Okay.
What else?
I mean, dude, don't worry. We got enough. If we need to talk about it in the future, we can.
Is there any way to identify where the towers were along the river?
Yeah, I my ATAC, I can probably pull it up on Google Maps right now. Or iPhone Maps.
Yeah, that's.
It just depends how old the imagery is.
And I think it's pretty old because we were struggling to find some of the
I
other
can
things.
find it. I'll tell you. I was leading that of a.
Was it there in 2004?
Hope so.
I think that's what.
Yeah, no, it was. It was universities and stuff.
Should be there then. And if you can.
Yeah. Verizon?
Yeah. Is this it's Mosul International Airport.
So if you just find the towers and then where that girl went down.
Yeah. Alright. Wow, this is really old. Because this looks really nice. Real estate. Oh, that was a bank, huh? When we were there, that was the jail. That was the nicest jail. Real Estate Bank of Iraq, Mosul branch. Alright. That's the university. There's your carnival.
So that's the carnival?
Yeah.
Okay.
The carnival
Yeah.
is right here.
Okay.
We had one hide we would use in there. It was in the tower in here. It's like the only standing tower.
We need to get better imagery though.
Okay.
So now we know where the carnival is. It's right where that like splits, where the river kind of splits.
Yep.
Right.
So
Right where. Sorry, I'm kind of finding it.
Mosul Amusement Park.
You can
That's
see.
like. That's wrong.
Okay.
Because this is amusement park.
Okay.
And you can see like little circle
Yeah.
rides. So this would be a building.
So it's there now. It's not surprising that it's not here. This is an old ass image.
Yeah, I mean it was. This looks like a lot more buildings. It was just 2 buildings.
But it's
So
right
this
next to that
was-
thing.
Yeah, so we would park. We would park in this area. In here, because there's all berms. And we'd walk across. And there's these 2 buildings. But it doesn't look anything like that anymore.
Okay.
This is the northern one. This is the southern one.
Okay.
Actually, this might be plowed. Might just be this building's been cut in 2.
Can I mark this
Yeah.
real quick?
And where was?
So, and then the girl was underneath the bridge on the western side.
Oh, all the way on the other side underneath the bridge.
Yeah. You know, if you want, I can bring in my ATAC too if we meet again.
Well, I mean, we're gonna have to at some point meet up so that we can, so I can try and get that
Yeah,
work from you on
definitely.
Monday. Yeah.
And then I think I got the spot. At least I used to have a spot where Doy got hit as well. I could probably recognize it on a map too.